Let's take someone with a random account, with a random name that just seems attractive.
Play live online against the world's top chess players while they stream their thoughts live. As a Chess24 Premium member, seize the chance to have your moment of fame. Get a peek inside their lives with question and answer sessions, in-depth teaching, analysis and interviews. The Champions Chess Tour, with countless accompanying events, is happening now. Tune in on Chess24.
Air quality isn't the first thing that comes to mind when you think about chess and esports, but it affects our focus, decision-making, health, sleep, and more. What's in the air you breathe? Find out with AirThings. Breathe better. Live better.
Want to raise your chess to a new level? Challenge Yourself is an exclusive, innovative experience designed for Chess24 Premium members. Train like a champ with a unique set of lessons prepared by the coaches of the challengers. Boris Gelfand and co. will help you improve your chess. Play a champ. Play a grandmaster each day in Banter Blitz. Take advantage of this incredible opportunity from June 10th. Go premium and challenge yourself.
It's time to take control of your journey towards chess mastery. Magnus Carlsen introduces Chessable, the definitive solution for studying chess. Move Trainer uses the science of spaced repetition to identify your strengths and eliminate your weaknesses. There's no need to set up a board, remember which page you're on, or keep track of all the moves you miss. Move Trainer empowers you to go from the opening to the end game with confidence. It's a seamless, effective, and fun way to study chess. Choose from one of the largest online chess libraries in the world, with hundreds of titles ranging from classic books through to our exclusive Chessable courses, including over 100 free courses. Get expert insights from International Master John Bartholomew, Grandmaster Sam Shankland, International Master Krzysztof Sulecki, Grandmaster Simon Williams, World Champion Magnus Carlsen, and hundreds of other instructors. Get started now and join our growing community of over 100,000 chess enthusiasts at chessable.com. Chessable, take control of your journey towards chess mastery.
Hi there, it's Grandmaster Simon Williams here from England, otherwise known as the Ginger GM. I'm here to announce a real amazing opportunity, an opportunity that has never been tried before, an opportunity that is open to everyone, and it is something that I think you'll be very interested in. The opportunity is to create your own Chessable course, and the prize for this, the best course that is picked out, is $5,000. Now, you may obviously have known me from many different things, my Chessable courses, my commentary with some of the world's leading players, my collaboration with some of the world's leading analysts and theorists out there. And the other thing about this is if you create the course that wins, I will be filming it for you. So you don't have to do the filming, you just have to create the course and I'll make it come to life. So on top of that, you get $5,000 and an amazing course. This is all thanks to Chessable, who are arranging this, and if you want to know more about this, do go to chessable.com/create. Go and check it out now. It's a brilliant opportunity. The deadline for submission is just before midday on July the 26th, so you should have enough time. And you can do the course on anything. Make sure it's detailed, make sure it's good, and I wish you all the best of luck, and I'm going to be very excited to see what you come up with. Good luck you all, and let's make some magic.
You. All for you. Freedom. Keep your ear to the ground. Talking about freedom. It's the best show in town. Best show in town. Freedom. Freedom.
Watch chess tournaments online? Don't just watch. Go to Chess24 and make it an interactive learning experience. You get live commentary in multiple languages, including different streams in English from beginner to expert. It's not just commentary, since there's also an interactive live board. Choose your game and try out your own moves. All moves by the players get near-instant cloud analysis from the latest chess engine, which will also analyse any move made by a premium user. Open the tab Opening Tree. It contains a database of 500 million positions from historical games. Has the current position ever occurred before? What did the best players play? The database tab lets you search full games and load them on the interactive board. There are many more tools for chess learners and experts. Come to Chess24 to watch all the online and over-the-board chess tournaments happening worldwide. Discover a new way to watch chess. Be part of the experience.
Air quality isn't the first thing that comes to mind when you think about chess and esports, but it affects our focus, decision-making, health, sleep, and more. What's in the air you breathe? Find out with Air Things. Breathe better, live better.
Let's take someone with a random account, with a random name that just seems attractive.
Play live online against the world's top chess players while they stream their thoughts live. As a Chess24 Premium member, seize the chance to have your moment of fame. Get a peek inside their lives with question and answer sessions, in-depth teaching, analysis and interviews. The Champions Chess Tour, with countless accompanying events, is happening now. Tune in on Chess24.
Air quality isn't the first thing that comes to mind when you think about chess and esports, but it affects our focus, decision-making, health, sleep, and more. What's in the air you breathe? Find out with Air Things. Breathe better, live better.
Want to raise your chess to a new level? Challenge Yourself is an exclusive, innovative experience designed for Chess24 Premium members. Train like a champ with a unique set of lessons prepared by the coaches of the challengers. Boris Girlfriend and Co. will help you improve your chess. Play a champ. Play a grandmaster each day in Banter Blitz. Take advantage of this incredible opportunity from June 10th. Go premium and challenge yourself.
It's time to take control of your journey towards chess mastery. Magnus Carlsen introduces Chessable, the definitive solution for studying chess. Move Trainer uses the science of spaced repetition to identify your strengths and eliminate your weaknesses. There's no need to set up a board, remember which page you're on, or keep track of all the moves you miss. Move Trainer empowers you to go from the opening to the end game with confidence. It's a seamless, effective, and fun way to study chess. Choose from one of the largest online chess libraries in the world, with hundreds of titles ranging from classic books through to our exclusive Chessable courses, including over 100 free courses. Get expert insights from International Master John Bartholomew, Grandmaster Sam Shankland, International Master Krzysztof Sulecki, Grandmaster Simon Williams, World Champion Magnus Carlsen, and hundreds of other instructors. Get started now and join our growing community of over 100,000 chess enthusiasts at chessable.com. Chessable, take control of your journey towards chess mastery.
Welcome everyone to Chess24. This is the Goldmoney Asian Rapid. Now we've had an action-packed preliminaries, a very dramatic quarterfinals, and how do I even put it? The only word that comes to my mind for the semis that we had, absolutely shocking. In fact, I don't know if you can hear my dog Buddy barking. He is super excited clearly for the finals as well. Let me quickly pull up chat and let's get ready for all the action that's coming up with a final that few of us would have expected. Let's do a quick roundup of what happened during the semis. Let's bring up our bracket from day 2 of the semi-finals. Now, Magnus Carlsen started with a win in set 1, and few would have thought that he wouldn't make it through to the final, especially also considering his score against Levon throughout the Goldmoney Asian Rapid. Not throughout the Goldmoney Asian Rapid, but throughout the Meltwater Champions chess tour. But Levon Aronian, rising from the ashes on day 2, not only took away set 2, but also beat Magnus in the playoff 2-0. He wasn't the only one who made a major comeback. Vladislav Artemiev, after a very difficult day 1, lost the set in just 3 games. Day 2 saw a big turnaround there as well. Although many times it felt like Dinglerin was in control of that match. Artemiev was in trouble at times, but he did come through at the end, took the rapid portion, and in the blitz won 1.5 to half, setting up an absolutely fresh final chat. Levon Aronian taking on Vladislav Artemiev. Not just that, we've got the world champion Magnus Carlsen and Dinglerin, world number 3, fighting for 3rd place. Now, of course, we have to start with predictions. Who is rooting for who? So while I pull up the social media action that we had on Twitter with the shocking result of the semi-finals, chat, tell me, this is, by the way, the rooting that we had on our IG poll. 74% of you rooting for Levon, 26% of you rooting for Artemiev, while 19% to Ding, 81% to Magnus. I think for the 3rd place match, it often just comes down to how motivated the players really are, especially in set 1 with the kind of chess and the openings that we're going to see. But I have to say that the one thing that really surprised me, and I think this just goes on to show how emotional chess can be as a game, was the rare display of emotion that we had from Ding. Now, he is just so straight-faced, regardless of what the position is, what the result is. But yesterday, you could feel it. You could feel the tension in him. You could feel him get affected by what was happening in that game against Vladislav Artemiev. He smiled when he managed to make a comeback in the match, and at the end, also just showing the disappointment. So I think that's what happens with online chess. When you're playing and your guards are down, it's more uninhibited. You're more, I don't know, you just feel like you can express, and we don't see that from Ding very often. So that was very interesting for me to see. Lev the Iceberg, I've been seeing that a lot. To be honest, I think this has been Lev and Artemiev's tournament. These two deserve to be in the finals. Let's quickly bring up their road to the finals and take a look at how they got here. Levon Aronian winning, and I do have chat in front of me. So hi everyone, welcome back to Chess 24 for set 1 of the finals. It is judgment time. Who is the best player out of these 16s that we had? This is the road to the finals for Levon Aronian. Preliminaries, he finished first with 6 wins, no losses, undefeated throughout. And then in the quarterfinals, he beat Arjun Aragasi. Of course, Arjun has also been one of the breakout stars of the tournament, really giving a tough fight to Levon and holding his own. He only lost that in the tie breaks, but Lev continued on his journey in the semifinals up against Magnus and then winning that in the playoff. Let's take a look at Artemiev's road to the final. I think Levon is going to win definitely. Yash, I think it's too soon to call out that, because Artemiev, his style of play, very aggressive, very combative, uncompromising. We've seen him go for these chaotic wild positions on the board. Levon, of course, as Surya himself described him, a very, very creative, artistic player. So I think it's going to be very interesting gameplay that we're going to get between these two. Now, in the preliminaries, look at this. This is what I'm talking about. The two best performers of the tournament. He finished second place with 7 wins and 6 draws. So a lot of wins there. Quarterfinals, he beat Anish Giri. And that's one quarter that none of us, including Anish, is going to forget. He made it look so easy against one of the best players in the world. Semifinals, starting with his back against the wall after set 1, he did bounce back, taking it to the finals. All right, what else is going on? Lev the Lion. By the way, I didn't know that, but in Russian, apparently Levon does mean lion. Someone messaged that to me on IG, so that was my fun fact of the day. Let's quickly take a look at the social media action that we had and how you guys felt about this finals. Expecting a bloodbath on board with Lev Artemiev at the Goldmoney finals. I completely agree with that. I think one thing we can be sure of is that the number of draws is going to be extremely less. I think the way these two players play their creative chess, the kind of positions that they create on the board, it's gonna be an action-packed final. Let's go on to the next one. Where is Danny the guitarist? Danny the guitarist will be joining us very, very soon. I think yesterday we had some technical issues with the sound, but we did get a little teaser. I'm gonna try my best, chat, to get us a little concert during this final. Lev Bergramian from Armenia saying exceptional win by Lev against world champion. Exceptional, yes, that I think absolutely spectacular. More than just the win, just the comeback. It's not an easy thing to do against Magnus. Lev will now face Artemiev of Russia in the final. Amazing performance by Lev and Artemiev both in this event. Very deserved final for these two as they continue mining for gold in this Goldmoney Asian Rapid. Let's move on to the next one. Lev the Stonewall. All right, let's move on to the next one. Underdogs Day. This is interesting because this is also the feeling we all got, and it had not just to do with how set one went, but on paper, Magnus is a big favorite in these knockouts, even if he's playing one of the greatest players, Levon Aronian. Also on paper, Dingler and Artemiev, Ding is a big favorite. Not just that, they started with a bad set one and making a comeback. That is just mega impressive. That is mega impressive. I think Lev will win too, but hoping Vlad does well. Got to root for the underdog. I love it. I actually also want to see a lot of support for Vlad, I think, in this event. He is making his debut at the Meltwater Champions Chess Tour, and it has been a spectacular event so far. I'm just excited for the fight that we're going to get. I think it's going to be hard to make any predictions for this one. Let's go, Supernova. Let's go. I'm surprised how much Magnus blundered yesterday. Augustin, I think not just you're not alone in that. It was quite an up and down game, really. Magnus missed a lot of chances as well. Lev commented on that as in his interview in Oslo. And it was very uncharacteristic of Magnus, missing these one-move checks, which were picking up the pawn, also some tactics. I think it's exhaustion, stamina, not sure, but also Levon putting on the pressure. So yeah, it was Levon who became the better fighter yesterday. Now, the action is on Twitter. And this is what you have to do. We have a really big quiz for all of you. You have to go on Twitter, and there's actually big prize today up for grabs. Now, here's the question. You go on Twitter, go on Chess24 or on the Champions Chess Tour handle. The quiz is live. The question, chat, is what is your favorite piece in chess and why? And so go and you make sure that you use all the hashtags. All details are on Twitter. The question is, what is your favorite chess piece and why? And take a look at what you can win. You win a 1-year premium membership plus a 1-year premium Play Magnus membership. Not just that, you also win the course by Judith Polgar. So big bundle at stake there. Tell me, chat, what do you think? If I had to answer this question, I think mine would be the knight, for all the nightmare that it gives us. And I see that we've got our grandmaster, our chess expert, our rock star with us, Daniel King, joining us. Hi, Danny.
Good afternoon, Tanya. Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. What is happening in the land of Tanya? That's what I want to know.
And Danny, chat is super excited about what is coming up in this final. Now, we keep saying that it's a shocking final, but if you look at it objectively, Artemiev and Levon have been the best performers in the event so far. And with their style of play, what kind of gameplay are you expecting? Do you think they're going to go for the kill from set one, from day one, or are we expecting a little slow chess today after all the drama of yesterday?
I think we're going to see all sorts here. You know, from both players, we've seen technical endgames, we've seen creative openings, creative middle game. I think what's great about them is that they are very varied in their styles. You know, they don't just play in one particular way, and that's what makes them really, really exciting. So I think we're going to get all sorts, but I'll tell you what, I'm rooting for my man Vladislav Artemiev. I'm a big fan. I think
I'm loving the loyalty, Danny. I'm loving it.
Yeah.
I think from day one, you're a massive supporter. Or also for Arjun, you were rooting for him so strongly. I think it's amazing to see that you really want to see these debutants do so well in these events.
Definitely. Well, I mean, to be fair, I was also rooting for a few others. I was rooting for Arjun, for Gukesh, and also, of course, Salem as well.
Yes.
But yeah, I would like to claim that I did root for Artemiev right from the word go, because I've seen how incredibly strong he is. You know, this pandemic has had such a weird effect on the chess world. Like I said, in 2019, Artemiev was really coming to the fore, and suddenly, well, his chess career has stalled. So, you know, who knows what the effect of this is going to have, actually.
Very interesting. Well, for me, after all the tournaments of the Meltwater Champions Chess Tour that I've been a part of, commenting, I think this is such a fresh final that we have, and that's what makes it so exciting.
Yes.
Super hard. You don't have the same players playing against each other. You don't know what to expect on the board. The openings are going to be new. And the one thing that we can say about Artemiev and Love for Show is that we've seen a very few those quick draws that we see during the tour made by the other players. We've not seen these two do that. So I am thrilled to have that. Now, Danny, we've got a quiz running on Twitter about what is your favorite piece and why. And I was thinking, for me, it would be the knight. And I'm looking at chat. Someone's mentioned, speaking of underdogs, that it would be the pawn. Ross saying it would be the pawn because it is underdog day. I like that.
I'm afraid for me, it's a no-brainer. It's got to be
The king?
Black King.
I love it. I love it.
I like the Black King. I like the Black King even more than the White King, because when I play with Black, I like to counterattack, and I like that feeling of having a safe king. For example, when you play the Najdorf and your opponent comes towards you with the G pawn and the F pawn, but suddenly it looks like your king is under attack, but actually you bounce back and you hit them on the long diagonal, and E4 collapses, you sack an exchange on C3, you break through with the knight on E4, the bishop on B7, and suddenly White's king is the one that is under fire. Mark my words, it happens so often.
Danny, I can see you're quite the romantic when it comes to chess, and a lot of chat saying Danny equal to king. That is true. Now they're asking that can we expect a little bit of a performance from you today, Danny? Because I got some inside info that we managed to fix the technical stuff.
I'm not sure. Do you know what? This is a chess tournament that it's a sideshow.
That's not true, Danny. We are here for your guitar. That's the only thing we are here for.
We're at the business end of the tournament. We need to concentrate on the chess. And
let's do it.
I've Tanya, you can see I've got my game face on.
Not convincing me.
The business end of the tournament, Tanya. Game face on, please. This is serious.
No one is convinced in chat, Danny, and neither am I. But let's quickly bring up the finals that we've got coming on. It's liftoff time in just about a minute. This is our chess action for the day. Now, Levon Aronian takes on Vladislav Artemiev in the finals, while Magnus Carlsen will face Ding Liren in their matchup and fight for third place. Danny, we've been talking about Levon Artemiev, but it's always tough for players to fight and find that motivation and encouragement to put up a fighting spirit when they've let go of that first place battle in the tournament. Magnus and Ding, are we going to see calmer than what we're expecting on the Lev Artemiev board?
Not sure, because I don't think Ding is the kind of player that goes for these short draws. To be honest, I didn't even know they were playing a third place playoff match.
Danny, you're not supposed to say these things. All right, well, clearly we're in for a really fun day. And do we have liftoff? Do we have our players ready with their browsers, the Opera browser? And of course, that's the one we recommend to our audience as well to follow all the action, which is on, because they are our official browsing partner for the Meltwater Champions Chess Tour. Magnus Ding Liren has started with 1 C4.
Actually, Tanya, while we're on the subject, Could you remind me and our viewers, what are the top 4 prizes? I don't know if we have that, and maybe our producer Tad could show us what the top 4 prizes are. It'd be nice to know exactly what they're playing for.
That's a great idea. If we can just bring up our prizes. Now, this is a regular event in the Meltwater Champions Chester, and this is what the players are fighting for. While Magnus or Ding will go back with a minimum of $6,500. Levon and Artemiev fighting for the big bucks here, the winner with $30,000. But not just that, it's also the tour points, Danny, that matter a lot, because we've got a big final, the Meltwater Champions Chester final coming up in September. The 3 winners from the major events get a direct spot into that. Then we've got 5 players who will finish at the top of the tour standings. You collect these points the higher you finish in the knockout bracket. So these points are super important as well. So the 5 top finishers in the tour standings qualify for the finals, and 2 wildcards. So a lot at stake here.
Yeah, there certainly is. I know it's good to see that. $30,000 first prize. That's not too shabby. That's not too shabby at all. Listen, we've already got a really interesting position on the board, and it looks like Magnus, well, he's never afraid to improvise in the opening. So it's, you could say, a classical English. Could be transposing to a reverse Sicilian after d5, but instead knight c6. And now, Tanya, just watch this next move of Magnus. Queen b3. So this is very, very unusual. A very strange move. Of course, it's about preventing the pawn move d5. However, d5 is certainly not black's only strategy in this position. You know, one can play with, for example, g6, bishop g7. Nothing wrong with that. And then I have to question, what on earth is the queen doing on b3? So it looks very strange to me. I think just g6 in this position, and then just ignore the queen on b3, which is very oddly placed. I don't know what your feelings are about that one.
Definitely a fresh position from the start, but also now the main game, of course, for us is the Levon Artemiev game. We'll see how this one develops, Danny. Promises to be not as calm and sober as I was expecting in this fight for third place, with the knight already on d5. And this started as a sort of a reverse London. I'm not really sure what's going on here. A semi-Slav structure we see on the board in our live position. Danny, tell us about this opening.
Well, I mean, when black plays bishop f5, it's at this very early stage. It's actually, well, I was going to say a little bit risky, because in this position, white could actually play the queen to b3 immediately to exploit the fact that this bishop has come to f5 to attack b7. Now, I think this is Artemiev kind of experimenting, and you know, and wanting to get quite an unclear position. In this case, I think black could play the knight to c6, and suddenly if queen b7, then moves like knight b4 are very interesting, and white could be in trouble. So it's not so easy to exploit the fact that this bishop has come out at this very early stage. Bishop g5, obviously there's now going to be a threat to d5, so therefore c6. Knight h4, so the bishop drops to g6. Knight d7 coming. Now white is going to take here, but well, I don't know. I think I'd be fairly happy with black in this position, because even after the exchange, black has a very solid pawn structure. Queen b3 comes in at this late stage. Just let me turn off my email just a second. I don't know if
I like this. Sure, Danny. I like this move, queen b3, because it immediately puts pressure on the b7 pawn, and it's not super comfortable for black how he wants to defend it. Rook b8, if you try and defend it with rook b8, you've got to watch out for a move like bishop f4, hitting that rook and then picking up that pawn. So definitely not the ideal way to go. On the other hand, if you go queen c7, there's also bishop f4. Queen b6 is the natural way to keep things together here, but this allows white to go into this endgame with c5. So after c5, if black trades the queen on b3, queen b3, a takes b3, this is a thematic position that we've seen very often. And I've always felt that black has to be careful here. White's idea is, of course, to put pressure on the a7 pawn, go b4, b5 if black isn't very careful. So black usually puts that a7 pawn on a6 and just tries to hold, and c5 on the board I'm seeing. I don't know if black intends to go queen c7 or go into that slightly unpleasant but holdable endgame. Danny, your thoughts?
I would guess queen c7. Yeah, he's played queen 7, and if bishop f4, then you just drop back. And at least a little bit of pressure has been taken off d5. And then we might see this exchange and the queen dropping back to c2 and then possibly pushing with b4. Well, it's more comfortable for white, but it's black has counter chances with this. That's a really that's a very important move because keeps the bishop on this diagonal if it's attacked with knight h5. Very important. But well, we've seen these kind of blocked positions. They're very tense. They can build up and be closed for a long time, and then suddenly the position can explode. So that it's quite interesting from that viewpoint.
Yeah, these are these kind of positions where both sides want to keep the tension, as many pieces on the board, and as you mentioned, keep it blocked, but they've got all these potential plans of central breaks as well as b4, b5 breaks. Black, meanwhile, just looks really passive, but often when the position opens up, he's ready with all the pieces because he hasn't made any apparent weaknesses. Rook c1 is also, just like you mentioned about h3, an essential move in these positions because it really discourages black to make a move like b6 and strike at that c5 pawn. So you're just placing your rook on the c file. It's a preemptive move, a prophylactic move, eyeing that c6 weakness and discouraging black from breaking white's space advantage that he's created with the pawn chain that he has on the queen side.
I mean, there's another pawn break, of course, and that's pawn to e5, which must be considered. So it's interesting, Artemiev not playing here the natural move Castle's king side. He's thinking, that shows he's kind of creative. He's alert to the possibilities. I mean, should we just have a very quick look at b6? It looks extremely risky for the reasons you mentioned, but I'm just curious as to see how that would be exploited. So I'm looking at knight b5, obviously. Feels like the way to go. But if black castles, is there a knockout move there? I wonder. Knight d, maybe just knight d6. I'm fishing in troubled waters, perhaps. I don't know. But if black has to give up the bishop, then of course I'd be quite happy. And if the queen moves here, then I'm hoping that I can snap that off. So I suppose that's what the issues are in the position. But I would like to play b6. But if not, well, this move is also possible, by the way. So we're attacking this knight. So the knight would take.
Take on g6 and then fall back to h2, just maintain your double bishop.
No.
And now the knight on h5 is not that ideally placed. No, at some point you'll have to fall back with it.
Very, very true. But I'm just wondering whether we can we get a bit crafty? And because we've still got the rook on h8, then I wonder whether we can do something like this and be a bit creative. Put the king on f8, g6, king g7, and try to use that h file. Just it's it's the kind of quirky thing that I have a feeling Artemiev might be considering. Really complex when we get these closed positions. He's investing a lot of time here.
He's investing, and the more he's thinking, Danny, I'm wondering if he's actually calculating. No, he goes bishop d8. Now, this is a more positional, strategic approach in the position, and the more I see it, the more I like it. Black reroutes the bishop. It's the bishop that's bad in the position for black. Black has less pieces. What do you do when you have less pieces? You want to trade off the minor pieces. From bishop d8, he wants to come to c7 next. Try and get rid of that white strong bishop on f4, which also controls the b8 square. So bishop d8, I think it's a very creative move. Yes, you're moving the same piece twice in the opening, but you're getting rid of a bad piece of your own to fight a very strong piece in your opponent's camp. And he's done it. He goes bishop c7.
Yeah, looks nice, doesn't it? And the other thing is, yeah, did you notice that if I just go back one move after that exchange, then black is getting closer to playing his pawn break, pawn to e5, breaking in the center. So Levon, to counter that, has played f4, but there are consequences to playing f4 in that the e4 square has been weakened, so black might be able to use that. But yeah, in general, it feels like a very sound move to exchange those bishops. Once the rooks are connected, well, once black castles at some point, then the rooks are connected. I'm just thinking, actually, I mean, it depends what's going on the king side, but actually black still has the option to castle queen side. I don't think it'll happen because actually I think b4, b5 would be too strong. But, you know, anyway, I'm pointing it out. Castles, no, of course, it's the most sensible move. So, very intriguing. You know, black could be looking to plant a piece on e4 and move the next knight in. But let's not forget pawn to b6, by the way. You know, that could be a nice break. So I'm just intrigued by this. Let's have a look at what happens after castles. So here, knight e4 is, I think, quite a sensible move. You know, something like this could happen. And even after this exchange, the knight could come to f6. And
this, Tani, looks a bit shaky for black with that pawn on e4. If white just starts attacking it with a move like queen c2, you have to probably play f5 because knight f6, g4. I don't know how you're going to defend that pawn anymore.
Well, yeah, but I don't know if I'm
f5, bishop c4, and then suddenly there's a dark.
Okay, I can understand. You're not convinced.
Not convinced with these weaknesses. And look at this. What white actually does in the position, he doesn't commit the king where he wants to go. Does he want to be in the center? Place it on f2, f1, maybe go d2 at some point. He's just going for black's king here. Makes the move g4 without going short castle.
Okay, I was still trying to justify that somehow, but okay, g4. So at the moment, that's actually not a threat because of queen g3. So that's let's not panic.
I'm wondering if the threat, and just to demonstrate the threat, Danny, for example, let's make a no move like a6. Okay, he's gone for b6, but let's just make a no move like a6 in that position. Okay. And just to show the potential ideas that can exist. Now you can take on g6 and go g5. Yeah. And suddenly after knight e4, you trade queen c2, and there's no way to defend that pawn.
Very true. And if the knight drops, then black is getting very badly squeezed.
Very badly squeezed, and might even get mated on the h file really quickly. He goes for b6, and Levon, just ignoring the action on the queen side for the time being, wins a tempo directly by g5. Interesting choice by Artemiev to put the knight on h5, not on e4. Knight e4 is once again met by this annoying knight takes g6. Let's just have that on the board, that why he couldn't put the knight at the center of the board.
Okay. Here, take here. Yeah, this one is
same problems.
Same. Yeah, this one's maybe a little less clear because of this pawn. But in any case, yeah, it's a little
long-term stuff. Long-term, it just looks like a weakness.
Yeah, it looks dubious. Okay, so here. Now, let me see.
So black is currently attacking the c5 pawn, also threatening knight g3. Can we check out what happens if white opens up this c file? We've been raving about this rook on c1. Let's take a look at some forcing lines. We're trying to make the most directly of this pin along the c file.
Not so easy. By the way, apart from perhaps hopping into g3. I'm also, you know what I'm like. I like to give up my pieces. I'm also looking at knight takes f4, which after the queen lands on f4, then it does hit a lot of pieces, by the way. So just something to bear in mind as well. This isn't on the board yet. Levon has not taken. Yeah, I mean, do you know what? It feels like white has a lot to manage in this position. There's the c5 pawn. There's these holes on the king side. And in managing these issues, he also has to think, what's he doing with his king? I mean, if this were a kind of blitz game, I would be very happy with black. It just feels like there's a lot going on here. There's more going on for white than there is for black. Black is very solid here. And of course, I understand if white gets this big clamp in, that could ultimately be very nice. But actually, black has the ability to hit out in this position. And that's tricky. Levon's exchanged on g6. I wonder if he might feel the need to take here. Or I don't know, maybe that's an overreaction, but...
The only thing is that knight on h5 looks so stuck, like it's going to be there for a while. So do you want to really rush at this very moment to pick it up? Yes, it's coming to g3, but besides that, it's got no other squares. So he could also think about just controlling that square on g3. The problem is you can't very comfortably put your king on f2 because, Danny, I know that then you're immediately thinking about moves like knight f4, but also f6. Breaking up that f file is something that white has to keep in mind. He trades on b6, opens up the c file. Knight b5 looks very tempting, but I don't think it gets white anywhere. Yes, you use the pin, but after knight b5, the queen simply falls back to c8. Let's just have that line on the board, getting tempted, going in for knight b5, queen c8, for example, here.
I think I slightly prefer queen b7 just to keep the rooks connected. But,
yeah, the only point that, Danny, I wanted to make was that after knight d6, you have queen c7. You simply just come back.
Yes. Yeah. Would you like a draw? So I think it's okay. By the way, this move knight g3, it could hop back into f5, which is a really nice spot. So I think white should be covering that. Levon down to 9.5 minutes. I repeat what I said earlier. I think this is objectively, I don't know what's going on. But I would prefer to play black here. I think it's easier from a practical point of view to play black.
That's interesting.
In spite of this knight here. I mean, maybe rook g1, but look, can I please indulge me? I like to give up my piece.
Let's go for it, Danny. I know what you want. Knight takes f4 on the board.
So I've got 2 pawns for it. I've got a queen that's kind of marauding, and there's a pawn attacked here. So...
Quick update, knight b5 played. If we see a knight d6, knight b5 repetition, Danny, queen b7, knight d6 on the board. If queen c7 is played, you've got to come back with that knight to b5. This might be the end of game 1. Oh my God, it's happening.
It could be. I think Levon's unhappy with his position.
It's done.
Draw. There we are. Do you know what? I think it was already, if he doesn't do that, like I said, I think this is actually quite an uncomfortable position for white to play. It's very hard to control this. Supposing, the move, I understand what you're saying about this knight. The move we would like to play is king f2, then obviously I'm going to sacrifice. I mean, if white wants to be practical, I guess you've got to actually exchange off that knight. But in that case, well, why should white have any advantage? And black has... more pawns in the center, you're going to play c5. Strategically, positionally, it's better for black. So actually, I completely understand why Levon has dipped out and has just forced a draw.
Unbelievable. And we were just talking about this on our pre-show, that how these are the two players who we see long games and fighting chess with. But Danny, as you're mentioning that it was probably already time for Lev to think about a bailout here with these sacrifices on f4. If you trade that bishop for the knight, then you're already conceding that you didn't get any advantage out of the opening. Plus that rook on a file. already ideally placed, and it looks like Levon took the practical decision of repeating moves here. Rook G1 ideas with knight F4 sacrifices look extremely scary for white. So with that, we start with the final set with a draw. Now, I think from Artemyev's point of view, this is a great result, Dani. You start with black, you get out of the opening without any trouble, and you are going to play the next game with the white pieces where you can look forward to actually creating trouble for your opponent. It all comes down to that moment when black played bishop d8, bishop c7. I think that was the key idea in that game, Dani. Before we shift focus to this fight for third place, can we just take a look at that? Because for me, this was super instructive.
Yeah, really nice move. So bishop d8 here. Note, before he castled, you could say the routine move here is just a castle. You know, you get your king out and then you think again. But maybe that would give white the chance to do something else, to somehow seize the initiative. I'm not quite sure how. I mean, my first thought would be to do something like this and maybe put the queen here and to play b4 so that b6 can always be met by b4. That would be my thought. And yeah, notice if black tries it here, I'm just wondering if white can white cause a few difficulties with this. Not sure. Maybe that it makes no difference. But in any case, b4. But yes, instead of castling, because actually the king is safe in the middle, bishop d8 is a really, really neat move. And after this, well, as we saw, actually it sort of forced f4. If white doesn't play f4, then let's say castles. Now I'm going to castle, and well, if white tries this plan with taking and queen c2 with the idea b4, black already seizes the initiative with the e5. Black is absolutely fine there. Let me just a little illustration. After this, you can see that pawn on d4 is potentially weak. I would like to play rook e8, knight spins around to e6. This is very, very comfortable. So Levon really had to shut things down. He had to play f4. And yeah, I mean, it kind of looks impressive, but actually this, as we have been saying, this is hard to manage because it does create weaknesses in white's position. So yeah, I think, as you say, Artemyev will be pretty happy with the outcome. Solid start with the black pieces, and yeah, it's good to get off the mark. And he has the white pieces next in game two. Very nice.
Very nice start for Artemyev, getting off the mark without any trouble. Let's take a look at our other game now. Magnus Carlsen facing Ding Liren in this one. And I'm looking at the position. Dani, the moment I look at it, I just feel that white has got two bishops, but black has so much space and no clear weaknesses. I think Ding's doing fine here.
Let me tune into this.
And I see the evaluation bar disagrees with me. Apparently, white is better. Bishop c3, putting pressure on e5, which is defended. But Dani, can you explain that to us? Why does the eval bar like white so much here?
Well, yeah, I have to say, I'm prejudiced. I look at the bishops and I think, I've got the bishops. I'm very happy. These knights, okay, they're well positioned, but actually they haven't really got any wonderful square to go to. But this bishop can pop out here. Beautiful piece. Slicing down here. Well, for example, I think the c-file is a problem for black. Black can't actually challenge on the c-file because that bishop is going to come to h3 to cover the c8 square. So I think that's one reason. I think black's best chance, okay, that's good, that covers h3. I think black's best chance here is to try to break with e4, and that would bring this knight in here. Or another alternative is to, I don't know if black can bring this knight to g4 to try to threaten some kind of sacrifice here, or indeed h5 to soften up white's position. Bishop coming to g2, that is a soft pawn on d5. So that is going to prevent black from actually doing too much. But yeah, Ding is getting frisky on the king side. I kind of like this, actually. You know, he's doing his best to shake things up. So it's not as clear as one would wish with white. And yeah, I kind of like this idea of softening the king with h5, h4, and having the possibility to play knight g4. It's not that clear. But I mean, my prejudice is, yes, I love the bishops, but Ding is fighting hard here. I think we're going to see something like h5.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's all about black's piece activity, like we were mentioning earlier as well, with this pawn center, the knights and the bishop placed on b6, queen f5, a nice move, winning a tempo. It was attacking the d3 pawn, so white had to waste time to get that rook from c1 to d1. And now this gives black more time to try and break through with on the king side. White's big trump is, of course, the 2 bishop, and which means that black can't play very slowly. So, Dani, let's take a look at some of these lines that you're mentioning, which are more direct in their approach. Just to mention that I think e4 at this moment doesn't make much sense, because the drawback of e4 is that it gives this beautiful square on d4 for the knight. So you want to time the move e4 really, really well when you're getting something very concrete in the position. So let's take a look at h5 instead, trying to create a hook in the position. If I was white here, I would be pretty afraid of black going h4. And the ideal move for me would be to go h4 myself. And I am afraid of giving up this g4 square, but I'm just going to go h4 and pray that I'm fine here.
I definitely like h5. It feels like the right move, doesn't it? So h4. Wow. Yeah, risky.
Very risky. The only good thing is that knight g4 immediately isn't possible because the d5 pawn is hanging.
Absolutely. So just a second, let me have a little think. Can I give up all my pieces? Probably not. Of course, I'm looking at this move, but it doesn't really work because of this, and white holds the rook. So
also queen b5 hitting the black rook.
Yeah, okay, queen b5, well said. Yeah, so that's not working. So let me see. Ding can be very well, he's a deadly attacker, so I just wonder how things could play out here. Just a moment. I'm not giving up on this one. I'm starting to enjoy the attacking possibilities for black.
You just really liked white's position like a move ago.
I know I did. I've completely switched. What's the eval bar say?
The eval bar is saying that white is slightly better, but once again, I really do think that it's so hard to completely understand that because of the dynamics that exist in the position. Black's piece activity, e4, d4 ideas, knight jumping to g4. I get the 2 bishops, but I still think practically black has his own trumps in the position.
Okay, listen, let me start with, so I want to play knight g4, that's clear. So what about rook d8? I know this looks very slow, but there could be some possibility to play d4 maybe later. But anyway, it's just about protecting this pawn. Wow, he's gone e4.
He's gone for e4. Now, this is a move that I felt was way too early because of the d4 square, but maybe we're just missing something directly for black. Now, can white go knight d4 after trading on e4?
Yeah, now, 2 things. You could actually exchange here. And the reason I'm doing that is to exchange and then just go knight e5. It's giving up lots of material, but... Okay, the alternative is just to play the queen to h5, of course, which does keep tabs on the rook on d1, which I quite like. And then, of course, the knight could spin into e5. Oh, no, it's gone knight...
different approach.
Knight d2.
Knight d2, knight g4, so the knight might be headed to c4, also putting pressure on the e4 pawn, and the rook falls back to f1 to defend the f2 pawn. It all looks a little shaky, but I think now that bishop on c3 is something that black should be careful about.
Monster bishop.
Monster bishop, and you can't go knight e5, jump onto d3 because the e4 pawn, wow, f2, what are we missing here?
Ding is in. Wow. So rook takes, bishop takes, yeah, knight c4, of course, covers e3, hits this, and there is a pin. Pin and win. Has Ding overlooked this?
I think Ding has just made a very big blunder and thrown
he
away
look?
all the dynamics in the position. Knight takes f2, and Ding, with his hand on his head, realizes the mistake, because the problem is there's no return for that knight with that queen on f5.
He doesn't look like a happy bunny, does he? No, I think
And Magnus shocked as well. Magnus shocked as well.
that looks a little bit strange. I mean,
That's pain right there.
okay, knights. Can we play? No, this is no good. I was just looking at this. You can just take here.
Take on b6,
Take-
Dani. f7 pawn
take-
hangs.
Take, exactly. This is the problem. So the tactics are just not working for Ding. They're not working at all. And I don't see how he has. I don't see any move here. This, I mean, it almost look. I think this is. It could be resigns. How do you save the piece?
I think
don't
this is
see
game
it.
over. And looking at Ding, not even looking at the position, I won't be surprised if he decides to call it a game and just gets ready for the next one. He looks
Could be.
devastated right now.
Yeah, yeah. Poor guy. Well, yesterday must have been a bitter blow for him.
Knight h3, you just trade and go knight b6, the line that you were looking at. I wonder if he missed this point of f7 hanging in this position.
Do you know what? I think knight c4 simply was the move. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, this one isn't complicated. I think knight c4 he just overlooked.
And there's nothing to even fight for. That knight on g6 is absolutely dead. It's not coming into the game. If you recapture the knight on b6, you lose a rook. Otherwise, you're just a piece down for no compensation whatsoever.
I mean, I just don't see a move. I'm looking at knight h4. It's nonsense.
Knight h4, you can just... Do you just go queen f7 and then just grab the knight as well? And that's it.
Yeah, you can do anything you like. It looks like one of my worst sacrifices ever, even by
Yeah.
my standards.
No, this is just shocking. And Dani, let's just have that moment, the knight f2 moment on the board. And the idea was clear here. Ding taking on f2. If rook f2, there's bishop e3 coming in. And this is what he wanted, which would have actually turned out great for black. But Magnus did not miss this. He had a counter trap of his own after knight f2. The problem is that the knight is pinned, so you don't need to rush with grabbing it, picking it up. Knight c4 defends that e3 pawn and attacks that very important bishop on b6. And with threats along the f file on f7, this was just game over.
Shocker. So we've had two really short games. Yeah, one a tense draw, short and sweet, but tense, short and tense basically. And this one, which, well, let's just go back here. I mean, if this knight g4 obviously not working as desired, and is this simply a difficult position because e4 is actually a problem here because we're going to take here and then just take on e4 actually. And in the meantime, there's also moves like, for example, after knight e5, I'm looking at stuff like queen a4, looking at the rook, looking at the e-pawn. So this one just doesn't look right, does it? I think basically because of that tactic, this whole plan looks insufficient. And I think coming back here, our move h5 just feels far more natural. And then white has to decide whether you do this, whether you play h3, whether you leave it, whether you do something on the queen side. I mean, another move for white here, by the way, is just to play queen a4, which are not to touch the h-pawn, just to play here, to look at the rook and look in this direction. I think I prefer that actually.
Yeah, very possible. But even in any case, I think e4 just, as we were mentioning, just felt like it was too quick to go in for this, creating that weakness on e4 as well as the d4 square. and knight g4 just did not work. Queen a4, but still it looks like these positions, you keep all your plans healthy and going. So h5 could have been the way to go. We do have liftoff on our second game in the finals. Levon Aronian takes on Vladislav Artemiev with the black pieces for game 2. And Danny, let's take it from the top.
So it's well, okay. I'll go again. Reti and English Reti. I don't know what you call this, but already we have actually a slightly unusual position, because after this, it's if I come back here, of course, black is not obliged to take this pawn. c6 is absolutely normal, and then probably we're going to transpose into one of these. Well, I don't know what you call them. Grunfeld Indian. I mean, this is a very, very well-known position.
Or the exchange Slav.
Yeah.
With G6.
It's
so many names.
Yeah. But taking on c4 is actually quite unusual. So, it's rather typical of these players that they're not afraid to play slightly non-standard positions. Bishop d7 played, and again Artemiev not playing the automatic move castles kingside, which in a blitz game you would play without thinking. He's trying to really get to grips with the position, understand what's going on. I wonder if he's looking at bishop f4 to play a knight into e5 to try and use the bishop on this diagonal. I don't know. This is off the top of my head. He's played bishop e3 instead. But do you see what I mean, Tanya? They're not, castles kingside for many of us would be automatic. Yeah. But he's going.
What we call a hand move.
Yeah, exactly. So bishop e3, attacking this one. So, all right. Obvious question. What happens on b6? Does he want to play d4? Maybe.
Very well could be.
Maybe this is his idea.
I really like it, actually. I really like d4 and b6 on the board. We might be seeing this. And Danny, very fascinating what you're saying about this non-standard approach in openings that we see in this format. And that's exactly what even Judith was mentioning. By the way, your idea is on the board. It's been played. So very direct play here by Artemiev, very in his style. And as Judith was also mentioning, that in all these formats, especially in online rapid, we see all these very interesting, especially for practical play, very interesting opening ideas employed by these players, which we may not see in over-the-board chess, but the format, the way it goes, it's online, it's rapid, less time on the clock. It gives players this flexibility to try these very innovative, creative ideas because the player has such little time to combat them in the right manner.
Yeah, definitely. That's certainly what we're seeing today. Now, this is intriguing because Artemiev has the option to go into an endgame where black's king is sort of caught in the middle a little bit. So let me just show this. So here, takes. Now you can take on d8 to displace black's king. Now, I guess we've got to take here. I suppose the only problem for white, or do we give a check first? Maybe we give a sneaky check. Put the king back on e8. I suppose e8. And then we take. And then we have to protect this. But it looks funny for black to have the king in the middle. Of course, castling is impossible. So if we just play b3 now, how is this? How do we assess that one? Some advantage.
Black is able to just finish development then because there are no weaknesses. I think black will be absolutely fine, especially because the bishop on g7 is also a very strong piece in this position.
But the king can't castle.
King can't castle because of what has happened already. So the big question is, how do you finish development? Do you try and break with h5, h4? Let's see a few lines. What happens if you start with knight f6? Do you jump in with knight e5?
No, I think just castles.
All right, and let's try and play I see what you mean. It is very uncomfortable because where is that rook coming out from? If only black could make one move castle, then everything would be fine. But that is illegal currently.
Yeah, so
Let's back up and see if there was something
that's an
else.
issue. That's an issue. We can, in this position, Artemiev, he's weighing up his options, but he does have the simple option to take here, take on d8. We give a check. Whoops.
And
I want
I
to check
don't believe
first.
that after rook d1, king c7 can be the way to go. It just looks too dangerous.
Whoa, here we go.
Way too dangerous.
Okay,
And
let
then
me
you have to
some
go
fun.
king b7, rook d7 coming in. This looks like it's collapsing just instantly.
Yeah, okay. So
King e8 has to be played.
And then b3.
Maybe he's got to go for something like bishop c3 check, move the king, try and get a pawn on f6, king f7.
Okay. Now bishop d2 is possible there. Could play bishop d2. Could just run the king to g2 and then maybe the bishop is a little slightly oddly placed.
All right, let's try it. Where is that pawn going? f5 or f6? It is very unpleasant for black.
Yeah, because anyway, when the king comes to f7, remember the d7 square needs protection. I think that's... Okay, are we overlooking something? Because that feels very nice. Let's just have a look at this again. I just wonder whether there's something here. Let me delve into this. So that has to be taken now. Is there a problem on the c file? Is this an issue? Or do we just go b3 and everything's fine? b5. I know we're going into ridiculous depth here, but I'm just curious. Because a3, of course, is not a beautiful square, and I can't.
Also,
go
bishop b2 might just trap the knight on a3.
Yeah, and I can't go to e5 because of takes and rook. Well, it's possible, actually. It is possible. Knight e5, takes, rook c1, rook...
Okay, I have a funny idea. Maybe knight a3 is possible here. Let's try it. Knight a3, but bishop c3 looks so scary as well. But my idea was that after bishop b2, just to show some tricks that white has in the position, you go bishop e3, and
bishop
suddenly
e3,
you're threatening me
yeah. Exactly.
on a7.
Yeah. No, it's
Not
very
easy
nice.
to combat.
Yeah. But... in this position,
Artemiev having a long think here. He's been thinking for about 5 minutes in this position.
I think he's going into detail in that line to see if he does have some advantage. Knight f6 could be a problem here.
And he chooses to go long. He chooses to go shah castle.
Wow.
So not going for the trade on c6.
Really interesting. Maybe he's just improving this line, because after knight f6, then you do bundle down this line, and of course your rook, you're already castled, and your rook is already on connected. Maybe this is just a massive improvement. Well, it is a massive improvement on the other line. So in other words, I think knight f6 will probably be a mistake. So I think Levon has to do something else.
What if he starts with knight takes d4? So knight takes d4,
Yes.
bishop d4. You can't pick up the knight on c4 because the bishop on g7 is hanging. And now if you continue with development with knight f6, because you don't have this trick with knight c6 trading, I
Yeah.
completely get your point, Dani, that endgame is way more unpleasant for black in the version with knight f6. So
But
black
this is-
needs to avoid it.
But this is also problematic after knight e5.
So knight e5, and you just want to go for this double bishop stuff.
Yeah, and this bishop looks nice. Now, a question
Let's
is...
go short castle.
Yeah, the question is, how much advantage does white have? Is this significant? If I take, is that just fine? Maybe that is just fine for black.
It doesn't look so bad. Queen d7, the rooks are connected. The bishop on d4 eventually will get
shouldn't
traded
take.
off. Slightly
take.
better for white, but maybe that's about it.
Yeah, I shouldn't take. Instead, queen d2. Let's just go queen d2 or rook c1. One of these moves. I'm not quite sure which. Yeah,
He's
level
gone
2.
for it. He trades on d4, and I'm expecting knight f6. I don't think you want to go bishop d4 in this position and allow white to centralize the queen as well as attack the h8 rook. So bishop d4, queen d4 doesn't look like the way, and I think knight f6 should be played
Yeah.
on the board.
So I'm anticipating this knight e5, castles, but in this position after castles, I'm thinking maybe just queen d2. Just let's connect the rooks. Let's not go crazy. And this bishop is slightly uncomfortably placed. Yeah, knight e5 is on the board.
Knight e5 played, shot castle, queen d2. I'm wondering if black can try and get bishop f5, and I hate that you get your knight on c6, and that's the other problem in black's position here.
Exactly.
But maybe it's not so bad, Danny. Can we have a look at that? Knight c6, queen d7. I still hit that knight.
It's, yeah, you remember that?
Oh, bishop f6 is fine.
You worried me there.
I was a bit scared. I thought, I was a bit worried about it, because just to point out that bishop f6, the queen on d2 is hanging, so you can't go for it. Knight e7 is not checkmate.
Well, let me try rook c1, but here knight e4.
I want to jump on e4.
Yeah, it's not.
Give me the opportunity, and I'm bringing a piece on e4.
Yeah. Okay. So white basically. So it's Artemyev's move here. He needs to be a little bit careful. What's he up to? Because as we've said, after the exchange, that feels as though black should be fine because the rooks are connected. Rook d8 happening. Well, one could play like this. Is this a tiny something for white? Little something?
But just so little that I can't believe that it will be anything to actually be worried about.
On a little something on a good day. Anderson, Karpov, we can squeeze. Yeah, but if not this, because I think queen d2. I like bishop f5. There is a slight problem here. Of course, we can play rook d1. Well, we've got to watch out for rook c2 or bishop c2. No, I don't like queen d2. Doesn't look right. And the move I want to make is queen b3, but then there's bishop e6. Also looks fine for black, actually.
Bishop e6, queen a4.
Yeah, sorry. Let's just have a quick look at that.
No, I'm not sure if it's such a great idea. There's b5, and I don't know. You might just end up losing that bishop on d4.
Yeah. Take on a7. Oh, hang on. Okay, I'm going to keep going just for fun.
Let's go.
I'm being greedy. Greedy's good. I used to play rook c1, by the way.
Yeah, I think rook c1, but it just gives you the feeling that white should not be a whole lot better here. Black can still make the move bishop f5, but maybe here, Danny, let's take a look at rook c1, bishop f5, knight c6 is much stronger there.
Yeah, I would still be hopeful that white's had just a little something in this position, I have to say.
So the other thing that white has done with this rook c1 is that you trade and you want to get your other rook from f1 to d1. So that's quite a nice setup for your pieces, placing both the heavy pieces on the two open files. You've got your knight on the center of the board, the bishop on g2 looking really good. Black still has to find, I think, a couple of accurate moves to completely neutralize the position.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think I would be pretty comfortable with the outcome of the opening, to be honest, from white's viewpoint. I think this is tricky. Yeah, for example, bishop here, and let's knight c6 or rook d1. Not sure. I'll go rook d1 because really, if black can take this, well, maybe black can, but
I mean, knight g6, bishop f6 looks very scary.
Knight g6, yeah.
So, but he's gone for bishop b5. He hits the pawn on e2 instead, and I think it's a similar idea. But if you go, and I think you can go rook d1. Let's just take a look if you can make the move rook d1 here, because the bishop on d4 is hanging as well. Bishop takes e2. You attack that bishop, rook d2, and there's bishop h6.
Yeah, bishop h6.
What's going on, Danny?
Not a move I really want to make. f4. It feels.
But maybe it's good enough, because if if black doesn't have anything, then black is...
Okay, well, all right. Well, let's find out what the threat is. So if I put the bishop back here.
Knight somewhere. Knight where? So bishop b5, no move has been made yet.
That's tricky.
Very tricky stuff. All right, let's go for it. Let's go for knight g6.
Okay, better take.
They're gonna have 6.
Now, how much is this? I hate the pawn on f4 opening the king. I gotta say, that gives me bad vibes. Really bad vibes. What if I just move the queen? What about... Yeah, not so easy to find a good square. All right, I'm going to go queen e8. I find it really hard to believe that white has advantage here with the pawn on f4. It gives me such a queasy feeling. I don't like it. Opening up the king just doesn't look right at all. I think we need... Let's look at some alternatives here. But that is an issue, isn't it? Queen attacks the bishop, and the bishop attacks the pawn. Let's find something better for white. Maybe he's overlooked this. I think he's overlooked it. Artemiev down to 5 minutes, 5.5 minutes roughly. This one's not easy.
So bishop b5 hits that pawn on e2, hits that bishop on d4.
Okay, I'm going to play something super solid. I'm going to play here. So here's my idea, Tanya. If bishop takes e2, then I'm going to go knight c6. And after the queen moves, I'm going to play rook e1 and capture the pawn on e7. How's that?
That looks a bit scary.
For whom?
The black, rook e1. If you get that knight on e7,
Yeah.
I'm not loving it. I'm not loving it.
Yeah.
And I don't see a way to fight it. There are moves like... All right, so let's take a look. Bishop c3 is what you suggest. By the way, he's gone for rook d1 directly. He's gone for rook d1 directly and queen c8 trading. So he didn't like to move bishop e2 because of all these tactics.
But maybe knight c6 here. Maybe that's the point, because then he could dip back to rook e1.
Your idea.
I think that was the idea, actually.
This is it.
So instead, maybe we're being too pessimistic. We kind of suddenly panicked with bishop b5. So rook d1, queen c8 on the board. But it does feel as though he might have got out of this one. But let's have a look. How is queen e3?
And Danny, with all these ideas and different angles to the position that we're discussing, we also have help at hand, reinforcements. We've got Grandmaster Davorin Kolyasevic joining us. He is, of course, a grandmaster, a coach, and an author of a chessable course. Let's bring him on and get his views on the position. Welcome.
Hi, Tanya. Hi, Daniel.
Hi, how are you?
Doing pretty well. I'm actually following the commentary and the games.
Good.
By the way, Daniel, I heard you say that greed is good.
Greed is good. Yeah.
Yeah.
That goes against your principles. Greed is good. It's just a saying. No, if you listen to our commentary, I'm giving up my pieces all the time. Usually, not very successfully, but usually it's the first thing I think of in the position, to try and free my pieces or something.
Yeah, Davorin is funny. Even though Dani says greed is good, he's actually sacrificing material for the initiative all the time.
I know. Yeah.
So not practicing what you're preaching here.
No, I'm just... if material gets grabbed, then it's just a stock phrase I come out with. That's all it is. But anyway, on the subject, we should say, Davorin, that I've been mightily impressed with your book.
Yeah, I appreciate your review.
Yeah.
I saw it on YouTube, and thanks for that.
Well, yeah, and I wrote a little article as well about it. So this book, Beyond Material, with the snappy subtitle of Ignore the Face Value of Your Pieces and Discover the Importance of Time, Space and Psychology in Chess. Phew, I had to take a breath after reading the full title. But that's the book, folks. And, well, Davorin, you tell us what it's all about, beyond material.
I actually also created a Chessable course recently on the same, basically based on the book. So it's about this kind of attitude towards, or let's say philosophy in chess, where you make decisions in certain positions based on non-material factors, such as I explore in the book, time, space, and psychology, which sometimes can be, or material can be exchanged sometimes to gain some sort of advantages, non-material advantages. So in short, it's a book on how to sacrifice more confidently and also not to be too attached to material. So there are also psychological factors involved, such as getting rid of attachment to material and not being greedy in certain cases.
And I have to say I've really enjoyed reading the book and looking at the examples you give. And this, I should emphasize to everyone out there, this isn't just a book about, sacrificing a queen to mate in 3 or something like that. This is about positional considerations. So, the effect of winning time by sacrificing a pawn or a piece or an exchange or something like that. So it's all kinds of different situations. There was a game I absolutely loved, and that was a game by Boris Spassky.
Oh, Spassky-Simag, or Simag-Spassky.
Where he had, Spassky was playing on the black side with the isolated queen's pawn, and he played this move knight e4, sacrificing the pawn on g7. And I've played and studied these kind of isolated queen's pawn positions for, much of my career. And so I really enjoyed that. I thought it was a beautiful example, actually.
Yeah, I agree.
That's very interesting. And I think especially what you mentioned, Davorin, about the psychological aspect of being able to give up material without seeing any direct path or direct line, simply for the way it brings out positional considerations. And I think when we speak so much about engines as well today, we know that they're believed to be very materialistic. But we've also been seeing that in AlphaZero games, where material is given up not for a direct line or for a checkmate or for winning it right back, but exactly for these things, for gaining positional advantage, for gaining these non-tangible assets in the position.
Yeah, the AlphaZero will sacrifice like 3 pawns for an outpost or something like that.
Exactly.
And then it will build up like a 30-move attack based on that. So AlphaZero was really, or that match was really insightful in that sense.
But do you think, do you see a change in the way that the game has been played? I mean, I'm not just talking in the last couple of years since AlphaZero, but just generally over the past, let's say, 10 or 20 years. Do you see a change in the way the game has been?
No, I think I see a change
top level
in the last 5 years.
Even in the last 5 years?
Yeah,
really?
I mean, it's developing so rapidly that not just the opening theory, but the whole kind of the way chess is going. So I think now it's less materialistic than it used to be, simply because we work with the engine so much that we see these different ideas where material is not such a big deal. Whereas, Stockfish and these older generations of engines, of course, you see a pawn, you grab a pawn, yeah, but...
Very fascinating. Now, speaking of time, space, and psychology, the position that we have in front of us, take a look at the clock here. Now, our timer is down to 2.5 minutes, Levon Aronian less than 10 minutes. But it does look like White has set up this battery along the A1, H8 diagonal. Ideas like knight G4 come to mind in certain positions. It doesn't work immediately, but Black needs to watch out. Davorin, what do you think about this? No sacrifices yet, but does White have anything to play for in this position?
Not so much. Okay, the C6 square, yeah?
C6 square, very interesting. Somehow. And the bishop on G2 as well.
Yeah. And also this bishop on B5 doesn't seem to be placed that well at the moment. So Black would like to bring it on this long diagonal, right? Maybe B7 would be a better square.
Yeah, but how do you get it there? This is the problem.
Yeah. And some A4 could come, so... Maybe
Yeah.
there's some slight pressure
Oh, definitely.
on black position. Okay, let's see. He wants to trade.
Knight d7. So trying to neutralize and trade off as many pieces as possible. But what are the tactics? Can we take a look at what happens if white goes knight takes d7? Do you just simply pick up the? Do you simply go rook takes d7 because bishop
Knight takes,
g7 does?
sorry, is knight takes f7 a move? I just
Let's
want
just show. Let's just finish. All right. Let's just show that.
because if bishop takes, queen takes, there's a fork on b5 or on d5.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
But maybe there's some intermezzo. So
Okay, but this is very, very tricky.
maybe some.
Let's don't worry. Let me just point this out. So if king takes, we're simply taking here, and it looks like, well, devastation, to be honest. So this is the issue. That's very interesting.
I'm wondering if e5 is the intermezzo here, but probably not. No.
E5.
Well,
Can you just take knight d8 and come back knight e6 as well?
Yeah,
Bishop
no, no.
d5.
Forget about it. Yeah.
I think it's all winning, isn't it? Yeah.
Knight e6. Yeah.
He's taken it. He's taken it.
He goes for it, and Levon
Artemiev
shaking
has
his head.
crashed
Levon
in.
shaking his
This
head.
This is big stuff. This is the first breakthrough in this match, and I think Artemiev is going to seal the deal here. This looks fantastic.
Are we missing something for black? All right, let's try and see what is happening. Although looking at Lev, it looks like he's fallen for this and he realizes the big blunder knight d7 was. So bishop takes d4. Davarin, your idea was that after bishop d4, you pick up the bishop and
I mean,
king f7 has to be played. Queen d5, and this just looks horrendous for black.
Just down a pawn.
Well, it's also a big pawn. This is the problem because black's king looks really bad now, and the e pawn.
We have this on the board. We have it king f7, and if you don't, you have to pick up the knight on f7. There are no other options. Knight h6 is a massive threat on the board.
Only it's the only way black can play.
Yeah, they're probably gonna go for that endgame.
Yeah.
Queen d5, king g7. How are you getting this? And queen b5, you just trade off the rooks.
Yeah, but maybe he shouldn't trade. I mean, you can trade, of course, but maybe rook c1 instead. Then
Yeah, because the queen and the knight are a good pair against the queen and the bishop.
exactly. But if we play here, I mean, maybe black just
Can black insist? Rook c8.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, technical difficulties.
But it's a pawn. It's a pawn, and you can
a
trade
grind.
and go queen c6 as well.
Maybe you just chop and just do this.
Queen
Well, he
d8.
has traded on d8, Danny. Let's keep up with the live board. 2 minutes for Artemiev. He's traded and gone bishop f3. He's a very healthy pawn up. It just comes down to technique now. In general, Davor and Danny, in these positions, what is White's plan here to improve further?
Squeeze. Well, do you know what? It's Kasparov Karpov from last game in Seville '87. Well, if minus the queenside pawns, but actually, yeah, it is.
I don't know the game, but is it similar?
Yeah, it's the last game of the World Championship match in '87 when Kasparov had to win to level the score to retain the title.
So it was queen and the bishop against the queen and a knight.
It was queen, bishop, and 4 on the king side against queen, knight, and 3 on the king side. With, I think, from memory, exactly this structure with no f pawn. And it's a classic. It's a classic. You got
Shame on me. No, shame on me.
Yeah, and Gary squeezed it basically. But of course, this time we have pawns on the queen side as well, so it's even better for white. So I think it's just technically winning, basically. Yeah,
That was a very nice spot, knight f7. G4, are those the kind of plans that we're looking at? Just advancing these kingside pawns? He goes for it. Wow.
Just squeeze. It's so easy to play for white.
And are you going to go G5 next as well?
Well, if it results in checkmate in the corner, yeah.
Or the knight falling back to G8. Both are very desirable circumstances.
Yeah, I mean, it's so easy for white to play.
Does black have to try and trade the queens here with queen d6?
Well, yeah, but I guess we probably do that quite happily because we can fix these pawns on light squares, so it looks so nice for white. Maybe just G5 here, just fix the pawns.
And Artemiev insisting on the squeeze, Dani. After h6, stopping g5, he goes h4.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's really beautiful. Yeah, I think Aronian has to play queen d6, but it's not pretty.
Can I point something out?
Please.
Sure.
I think he played h6 here so that after they trade the queens, there's no g5, because the pawn on like g5 takes knight h7. Okay, there's bishop e4 and f4, so maybe it doesn't quite work.
Yeah, but here.
But he trades some pawns at least.
Yeah, exactly. He's traceable. So I don't know. Yeah, we're rushing into this. Let's just have a little think. Also, you know, he can fall back.
Well, I think he's gonna trade.
Just keep it simple. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it still should be winning.
Should be. It's a pity that black will get the pawn to g5 though.
Well, probably white's pushing, yeah, and then getting that position, trying to win.
He does trade and plays it simple, so doesn't rush with g5, doesn't want to trade more pawns, and king g2. Black's g5 makes a lot of sense. You want to put your pawns on the other square of the bishop, and with that also not allowing white to go g5. So now at some point, does white try and get an f4 in?
Yeah, I guess we're gonna
Bishop c6, f4?
I expect so, yeah. And then black is going to struggle to hold the pawn. Okay, it should be technically winning. He's only gotten a minute and a half, by the way. That's slight issue. So it's not completely over.
With a 10-second increment and Dani, the kind of position that we have on the board, so much liquefied, and you've got an extra pawn. I don't know if the clock will play such a big factor because there are no complications that left can try and create. It's not one of those positions where you have a pawn and there are too many pieces on the board to deal with. d5 played and f3. So he doesn't go for f4 because knight e4 check and knight c3 could have been annoying for white.
Yeah, but I guess he can reroute the bishop anyway round to d3. I wonder if he's going to...
Dani, can we just show that the idea of f4 actually doesn't work at all in that position? Very important move by black, d5, threatening knight e4 with that h4 pawn hanging. And after knight e4, if you go a move like king h3, there are ideas like knight c3, but also knight f2 check, which is what you don't want to deal with the white pieces. So f3 just keeps everything under control. And white can also look at eventually trading the pawns on g5 and going king f2, king e2, king d3.
Okay, Davorin, what would you do? Trade or put the pawn on h5?
That's a good question.
Ooh, I like
maybe better to keep the weakness on h6 for some game.
In case the king manages to come in here. But then again, if the king gets to f5 anyway, then g5 could just fall. It's hard to say.
Hard to say, yeah.
It's pleasant choice. Pleasant choice, but you have only 30 seconds to make it. He goes for the trade and goes for f4. Now that allows a check on e4. Can we just take a look at what happens after knight e4?
So if I just play here, everything's still okay?
You see a check, you give it, and then you think, Dani, that's my philosophy.
Well, let's put the knight on c3 for fun. He's played it. This is on the board, yeah.
Knight c3, hit that pawn. Hit that pawn.
It's the only way to play, I think, to try and complicate, but let's see. Now, what happens if you take it? Take here?
Wow, that move. Okay, let's start with king g6. Let's just show that. fg5, maybe black starts with king g6 to get out of the way of bishop d5.
Yeah, could be. But in any case, I think white should be keeping these two pawns on the queen side. I think it's better to play a3 or something like this. a3 or a4. Let's play a4.
Because a3, Dani, you've always got to watch out for knight b1, knight d2 stuff. So I think a4 has to be played sooner or later. And now I'm just wondering if black can somehow create play against the b3 pawn. By the way, he's gone for your first suggestion of taking fg5, king g6 on the board. I really like this move because knight a2, bishop d5 coming in with a check was not ideal.
Ooh, it's getting messy. It is getting very messy.
So he has to pick up the pawn on d5 now.
Yeah, that's on the board, but somehow I'm surprised that he's gone in for this because, black
Bishop e4 check, and then he wants to go bishop c6.
he's liquidated a lot of pawns. Bishop c6, knight c3.
And you get a4 in, and that passed pawn could be a bit of a problem. So white just wanting to get the king to the queen side. Black's king on g7 can't start attacking those double pawns. That bishop on e4 really nicely placed. But it looks a little messy.
A4 anyway.
So let's try, Danny. a4, you trade, and what happens after king d4?
Yeah, he's played a4. Well, where do I drag the knight out to? Yeah, this is on the board.
King d4, and the question is, a3, knight c1 looks like the kind of setup you want so that king can't come to b3.
Yeah, do you know what? Yeah.
Actually, a3 knight b4 and a2. How do you?
But then king b2 and
How do you make progress there?
bishop f5. Let's try that. So king c3, let's say. Sorry, king c3 is not possible. King c4, knight b4, king b3, a2, king b2, and
King
by the way, he's gone king c4, and I see the evaluation bar completely disagrees and says that black is doing fine here. So your question here, Davarin, is that how does white make progress?
Yes.
So can he start with a move like bishop f5? I want to get that bishop to e6 and
Well,
try
I
and
think
take
you have
that
to
pawn.
play for black. Yeah, king f. Okay, never mind. He played knight c1.
Knight c1 also makes a lot of sense. Now I think we might get a similar position, but knight e2. Wow. Oh, that's a nice trick. That's a nice trick. So here as well, he can try and get the bishop on this diagonal. So very similar concept, Danny. So let's move our bishop to d3 and try and get it to c4.
But I don't think this makes any difference. I think it's just a draw. Yeah, knight d5.
Has Artemiev just thrown away all the advantage that he had?
Yes. In a word, it's gone.
Okay, question. Bishop b3, knight takes g4. You do get 2 pawns, but the king is too far away and you end up losing both the extra pawns.
It's just a complete draw. The knight can sit on e5 and then you play king g6 and take complete draw.
That was a bit of a miraculous save.
Yeah, but do you know what? Let's go back because let's
stay with the we'll go back once this is over.
So for example, after this, we can play here. Let's say here.
King g6.
King g6, and you just take here. Bishop d3 played. Does it make a difference? No, doesn't make a difference. Knight e5, king here. Knight e5. He wants to play bishop h5, right? Knight here, bishop h5. But I have my doubts about this one.
Bishop e2. Can he start with knight f2 or does that run into e5? After knight f2, if you hit that, he's played knight f2, e5 on the board. King g6 now. Is e6 something to worry about? He goes knight h3, so he's just going to pick up the pawn with the knight, and this is game over. This is clean.
Yeah, just a draw.
And now just knight f7, e6, king f6.
Massive,
or knight g5.
Massive disappointment. Artemiev, so it's closed out. Yeah, massive disappointment. Levon will be very happy to save this. If we go back, I mean, this is just a technical win. Should be a technical win. He ran too short of time. This is the problem. So, I mean, this just looks absolutely wonderful. Such a pity for him. I mean, after the exchange of queens, I think he just had to be a little bit more careful. This whole thing with f4, I think, was just complicated. So yes, Tanya, you mentioned just bringing the king round to d4. Why not? Looks really
very strange.
Black king comes to e5.
Okay.
Well, that's why we push f4 too.
Right. So you think that black has enough here?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, maybe. Could be. Go somewhere around here it's gone wrong, basically.
And it makes me wonder, Danny, your idea of keeping that h5, h6 pawns, those pawns alive, that could have also been giving white more chances. But just this position, it looked like it should be an easy conversion for white.
Yeah.
But also, Daniel, when you said not to give the A pawn when the knight was on c3 earlier,
Yeah, exactly.
maybe that was more technical.
Let's have a look.
Here, yeah?
Yes,
Instead
in
of
this position, a4. To keep the pawns on the queen side.
I'm actually not sure. Maybe even a3.
Yeah, but I think there was a tactical problem with a3.
Well, d5 is hanging, so that's not an issue.
Yeah.
All right, Danny, Davorin, we will come back to this game and look at this end game, but it did look like a big opportunity missed by Artemiev, keeping that A pawn alive, a way to go. Maybe H5 was the way to go, but just a healthy pawn up, but with just a minute and a half on the clock. Some inaccuracies and Levon saves the game. Can we get a quick update on the Magnus board?
Davorin, we need to find a position where one side is giving up material for some positional compensation. So
maybe this will be it.
One never knows. So mainline Catalan. And this is a very familiar line in modern chess. Well, no prospect of positional sacrifices at the moment.
It's getting interesting.
Yeah, starting to heat up a little bit. And that's on the board. Okay. Talk us through it, Davorin. What's going on here?
Black is probably fine, yeah? No big weaknesses, and not sure how white improves. Maybe to push d6 at the right moment, then b6 could be a weak pawn. But
there we are. That could be the weakness we've been looking for. Okay, an alternative plan. Well,
okay, rook b8 played. I have to ask you the first question in my mind, knight c6. I want to jump in with that knight and ask you what's going on in that endgame.
Yeah, Tanya, I was going to say, I think that's a really interesting option because, you know, after the exchange, then it might be possible to put the rook down on d7. So I think these are two quite serious options actually to consider, and knight c6 as well. So let's go with knight c6 and see what happens.
Ding, down to 3.5 minutes, so he needs to be quick with taking a decision here again. Knight c6, d6, two choices as you're pointing out. So knight c6, you've got to grab it with either the bishop or the knight.
Okay,
we'll grab it with the knight.
Okay, you think the knight? All right.
And then takes d2.
Let's take it back. You've got to go rook d2. Let's take it back. And bishop a6.
c8.
c8.
To e6.
And why c8?
To e6, yeah. I'm taking d7 under control.
Yes, true.
That's very important actually, because bishop a6, rook d7 was exactly what white would like to get in.
Yeah, maybe that just solves all the problems actually. That's
looks awful aesthetically, but maybe black's just fine and needs one more move, come out with the bishop, and you're doing absolutely fine.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing I can think of is to put the bishop on d5, but the bishop will come to f5. Seems okay.
He goes for neither, by the way. He decides to keep all the threats on the board, doesn't rush in with knight c6 or d6, but plays the move h4. Always a useful move in these endgames.
Bishop a6 on the board. Well, okay, Davorin, let's try your idea. Okay. d6. So I suppose this needs to be taken. And rook takes. Thing is, actually at the moment, white doesn't have a threat because the rook on d1 is unprotected. So rook b6 isn't actually an option. So maybe black can just sit there for the time being. Unless it's knight b6 or not. Or maybe. Oh no, the e5 is hanging. Yeah, so perhaps if black doesn't panic here.
Like king f8? No, king f8 I cannot do.
Yeah.
What's a useful move?
So maybe knight d7 actually is the threat. Knight d7 is the threat. That's interesting.
Wow, and d6 on the board. Dani, I'm being told that we just need to go off air for just a couple of seconds to fix a technical glitch. We'll be back in just a few seconds.
Freedom! So fresh, so new. Freedom! It's all for you. All for you. Freedom! Keep your ears to the ground. Talking about the freedom! It's the best show in town. Best show in town. Freedom!
Air quality isn't the first thing that comes to mind when you think about chess and esports, but it affects our focus, decision-making, health, sleep, and more. What's in the air you breathe? Find out with Air Things. Breathe better. Live better.
All right, and we're back, Dani. D6 played, traded off. What is going on here now? Knight d7, you were mentioning. King f8, not possible. Davarin, the move that helps black. What can it be? Is b5 a possibility, trying to create some play, or is that completely crazy? Okay, you can't take on a5 because the e5 knight is hanging, so maybe not completely crazy.
Let's take a look. b5, very, very sharp. So, yeah, I mean, the move I wanted to play was actually knight here.
I'll pick up that knight on c4.
Yeah, well, I think maybe rook takes first, right? Because otherwise there's knight f6 check. But yeah, if we take here first and then take here, then it seems like it's actually okay for black. So b5, very sharp. So
and if you trade on b5, bishop b5 is a happy bishop.
And importantly, covers the d7 square. Is that the saving move? Let's just go back. Very sharp move. And if we trade everything on d8, nothing special. So far, it looks pretty good, Tanya.
I mean, if it's not losing on the spot, it's the kind of move that one really wants to make in this position.
Yeah.
But I feel that we are missing some tactics. So he's gone. He doesn't go for b5.
He plays it.
Oh, he does after trading on d6 first.
Took on b5, yeah.
So rook d6, b5 played.
In fact, it also looks fine, doesn't it?
Yeah, the main point is that the knight on c4 can't move. Your knight on e5 is hanging, and knight d7 was not a good idea there. Could have just picked up the knight on c4 as well as the pawn on b3. Could knight d7 be played instead of ab5 there?
Instead of here.
Yeah, I was wondering the same thing. But maybe we take on, yeah, like you said.
I was thinking about taking on c4.
Yeah, take twice and push that pawn.
Push that pawn or take the b3 pawn?
Well, I mean, yeah, take it.
Take it. Let's take it. And knight a6, you push it again to b2.
But there's bishop e4.
And then we're a lot of material down.
Still a big pawn.
And then we resign.
No, we resign.
This is when we need to get materialistic with white. All right, knight d7 was an option. Not sure because rook d8 in that position. There's knight f6.
Sorry, in this position. Yeah. Maybe
you start with b takes c4, knight b8, and you go c3 instead. And the point is that after knight takes a6, c2, there's actually no way to defend or fight against black queening.
That's nice. Yeah, that looks like that could be the answer.
And also let's point out another nice line. And sorry, Davarin, just want to point out that after bishop e4, maybe black just goes bishop d3 now. Because you give up that piece on d3, and again after c2, you can't defend the pawn from queening.
Tanya, you're on fire.
That's actually pretty.
That's beautiful. You're on fire. Let me just show that. Here.
And c2 wins the day.
Tanya.
Nice.
Elegant. So elegant.
But it's a sacrifice.
Finally, we managed to shoehorn it in. Yeah, and if rook takes, we can do this.
So a nice geometry.
Yeah, exactly.
That bishop on f6 playing a key role, stopping rook c3. All right, but none of this happened. No knight d7 on the board. Instead of that, let's just bring our analysis board up to date. So how did we get here, Danny? What was played instead of knight d7?
So takes, knight d7, chops. Yeah, we're heading for... Oh, yeah, f2 is hanging. Should be okay. Rook a2. What happens if we just defend the pawn?
So rook b8 is one idea.
Rook b8 could be simple.
Although
Rook d2.
rook takes b3. And maybe I just want to take everything on f2 after that.
And bishop e4. I'm angling for the back rank. Tricky.
Bishop takes f2.
And king g2. There's a lot of pieces hanging.
Bishop g3.
Bishop g3. Oh, you want to take everything. Tricky.
Well, I'm not sure, actually.
Very tricky. So bishop takes, you take here.
No, but king g3, my idea was knight c5, but there's king f4.
Yeah, king f4.
Okay, I take everything and rook h3.
Yeah.
So a draw.
Probably a draw. Yeah. Okay, instead of that, we've got this. Okay, we have here rook d5 from Ding. Well, should be a draw, basically.
Should be a draw, but there's still the b pawn alive. And if anyone's going to try for anything, it's got to be white here. Knight coming to d3. The b pawn starts pushing. Darren, Danny, what do you think that white has some real chances here?
No.
No. Wow.
Oh, Darren, come on.
Knight d3. You know what? I think this is going to go on, and we've got to see b4 on the board.
b4.
I think you're just very pessimistic about white's chances here.
Not against Carlsen, anyway.
Not against Magnus. That's the key point.
Okay, listen. This could run and run. I've got to take the other side now. g4, yes. So he's fixed the pawns. They're not all going to be chopped off.
I also think it was very necessary, Danny, because let's just show b4 instead of g4, and it would be black who would fix that pawn on g3. After b4, g4 check, and that knight coming on to h5. Trouble on g3 for white then.
Yeah. No, I like g4. Well, could we pretend that we have a little advantage at the very least? Let me pretend. I guess the king is just going to come over. To be honest, I kind of agree. I think it does look a bit Deadsville, but you never know. Come on.
All right, b4, let's go. Let's take a look at what happened. So king e7, king f8 on the board, by the way, b4 played, king e7. We've got this position, bishop c7, Danny, you're calling it out. Need to get that pawn to c6. How do we do that? Knight b2, knight a4?
Yeah, I want to flip it to c4, actually.
No, but I thought that if you go knight b2, king d6, knight c4, king c5, so maybe knight a4 in that case.
Oh, is that a killjoy? Okay, that's a... Yeah. No, we need to reposition the knight.
At least your knight on f6 is dominated by white.
Yeah, but I'll put it on e7. I'm going to play
Wait for it, Danny. Bishop e8, and you're going to play what after bishop e8?
Oh, just f6.
You really don't care.
Oh, the knight on e7 is fine.
Let's go b6.
No, actually, if you want to push f5, you could go knight h6, yeah? Instead.
Oh, yeah.
That's the killjoy. That's actually a really nice idea. You go knight h6, b6, you give up that bishop and go f5. Is that what you wanted to play?
Yeah, why not? That's a lot neater. Well, instead, Ding has played knight f2, which is going in the wrong direction. But listen, it's just a draw, of course, in many, many different ways. Yeah.
Okay, the pawn is on b7.
That's what we've got at the moment. Yeah.
Or it will be.
Yeah, it will be. But I don't think it changes the assessment of the position. The knight is not in its prime location.
What would the prime location be? Would it be the f5 square?
Yeah, somewhere over here, or I don't know.
Mm.
Taking one of these, taking the f7 pawn would be the prime location.
And then the g5 pawn as well.
Yeah, we can but dream. We can but dream.
All right, so king d6 on the board, and the king is just so close to the b6 pawn.
Listen, Tanya, shall we let this one run? Because I would like to switch to Aronian against Artemiev.
Have we started? Definitely. This is, of course... let's take it from the top, Danny.
So we're back to this bishop f5 routine. And
well, it makes a lot of sense. Artemiev had literally 0 problems in game 1.
Yeah, and Levon playing queen b3 far earlier. So yeah, as I think we kind of looked at this a little bit last time. The knight, of course, comes to c6 because after takes, then knight b4 is a lot of fun. So of course he doesn't do that. Instead, he played e3 to protect the pawn, and that's on the board. Dvorin, have you ever played this position with black?
No, not this particular position, but maybe the structure I have. Because if you play a move like bishop b4, it looks like the Ragozin defense. You don't have to do it, but that's a typical structure in the Ragozin.
Yeah. And it's a little bit funny that the bishop has now been shut in on c1.
But white will get the bishop pair.
Sure. It feels like those old games of Chigorin with the knight on c6, and you play with 2 knights against 2 bishops. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Exactly.
It's kind of yeah. I find it quite an interesting position actually. If we just play like this, I'm curious. Maybe bishop d2 is unnecessary, but
no, it's okay. I mean, you take and play bishop d3 and castle or something.
Take here, yeah. I mean, but personally, I think this is a very playable position for black. You know, all the usual stuff: rook e8, queen to d7. So you're going to take on c3. We're going to put something on e4, or that we can always advance the g pawn. I think it's playable. But let's see what Artemiev has in mind, because he likes to go his own way.
Dani, for those who are just joining us, let's just do a quick recap of the action that we've seen in this final so far. Now, game 1 started with Lev with the white pieces, ended in quite an early draw when Lev decided to bail out of an opening position where Artemiev had not only solved problems, but had started to threaten a few things along the king side. And in game 2, we saw Artemiev winning a pawn, a very healthy pawn up, but short on the clock, a few inaccuracies. Aronian was up to the task of holding that endgame and managed to survive a bit of a scare there. But in both these games, Davorin, we got the feel that actually Artemiev was in the driver's seat here with the black pieces in round 1 and in round 2. Let's get back to our game 3 position. But I want to ask you, is that a bit of a moral victory and the kind of psychological pressure that it might put on to Levon, knowing that so far he's not got the kind of positions he wants in this match?
Yeah, it's quite possible, but let's not forget that one blunder can decide, game on such a short time control. So I think both players still have chances. It's 50-50 at the moment.
50-50. Dani, would you agree with that estimation?
Yeah, can turn on a move. But I have to say, Artemiev, I'm still rooting for him. I think he's shown what he's made of. And, very, very creative player. The only problem is he does seem to be running short of time. He's down to 11.5 minutes now. In the previous game, he also, I think that's basically why he blew the game. because he didn't leave himself enough time for the endgame, actually.
Bishop E4. You're right. I think you're right, because this trend we've seen in some other matches where the one who is spending more time generally kind of blunders more.
Yeah.
Eventually, so...
We saw that narrative in yesterday's semi-final match against Magnus and Lev as well. Magnus always shot in the clock and then missing those tactics.
Yes.
So he's gone for bishop d4, but maybe it's simply not necessary to play bishop d2. He could just exchange and play bishop d3, as you were suggesting, Devorin.
Even bishop b5 might force some concession from black.
Yeah, he's actually just taken and played bishop d2.
You know what I'm wondering? If, let's say, black castles, is he going to go, like h4, g4, or h5? I don't know.
We sure hoped he does, Dani. That's exactly the kind of chess we want on the board.
Oh, you think so? Maybe just go queenside.
Yeah. That would be in Levin style.
Yeah. Of course, Artemiev has a rook on a semi-open file here, so he could start a little bit of action. I wonder about pushing the g-pawn straight away. We could have some fun here. Or maybe we should start with queen d6.
Yeah, that looks like a good move.
Let's find out exactly how white wants to defend the h-pawn, and then we'll consider our options. And
all right, so go on, Davorin.
No, sorry, I was just going to say, Tanya, that actually black could also consider castling queenside. But anyway, all that is water under the bridge because he's simply castled kingside.
Yeah, because castling queenside here would be a risk also for white, so
sure
he has a safe alternative.
Yeah. But queen d6 I thought was interesting, actually, because black doesn't burn any bridges by playing queen d6 anyway. But as we say, it's water under that bridge. I'm mixing my metaphors again. So rook e8, I suppose. Let's just do something normal.
All right, so rook e8, let's do something normal for white as well. Let's go short castle.
Yeah.
The other idea that you mentioned, long castle, is also interesting, but a bit black getting in a5. Not really sure if Lev will go for long castle there.
Yeah, that's risky.
That's very risky looking now. So he goes rook e8. Natural move there. Interesting to see where Lev decides to put his king.
Yeah, and here I just want to play queen d6 anyway.
Isn't, by the way, bishop d6 a bit safer? So we don't have to give up that bishop. I'm not sure if black wants to do it, but...
he's castled. Okay, bishop d6. Oh, yeah, retain it. It's funny, having put it on b4, my natural inclination is fine. I just want to chop. I want to put a knight on e4 and carry on. But yeah, it's funny. I don't think of retaining the bishop, but well, why not? Let's just try.
And you know what? Let's see what happens if white gets really greedy with queen takes b7. Do you go knight b4 trying to trap the queen, or rook b8 is not possible because the knight is hanging? So knight b4 has to be played. Let's fall back with the bishop, Dani, and pray to the heavens that the queen has got a square.
So we have a draw at least, yeah?
Exactly.
Yes, rook b8, rook a8 is the draw. And I'd be happy to take that at this point. But do you have something more?
Well, I think that kind of rules out this whole idea of queen b7. If that's the best, then... Okay, but why don't I just...
the other pawn that can't be grabbed, just to show that line, that knight takes d5 is the other pawn you don't want to take, because after you trade, there is this bishop h2, which wins the queen and the game on the spot.
And by the way, bishop h2 it could potentially be a threat here. So let me make a normal move, something like this. Here, we're back to, obviously this one
very nice.
Looks tremendous, the usual stuff, but well, king g3 or king h3 could be tricky. I'm not sure whether it's successful now. but of course, it's something that black should definitely consider. I mean, maybe king g3 is good enough. Not
All
sure.
right.
Actually, king, because there's some really interesting stuff here. For example, I wonder about this and then playing queen h2.
No, but we're on to... okay. You have knight d4 ideas.
94, when? Here?
If so, queen h2, king...
Yeah.
I wanted to run to f3. But then you cannot go to e2 because of knight d4, so...
Right.
You might have some useful move here.
Maybe rook here?
Maybe. But then, still rook h1.
Rook h1. Yeah, probably not good enough.
All right, this would be a completely different game because take a look at what Artemiev decided to do instead. He did not fall back with the bishop to d6, but trades on c3, voluntarily gives up that bishop. Well, white's got these two bishop advantage and rook b8 defending that b7 pawn. Now there was no way to actually trap the queen after picking up, so he needed to defend it. And white has got this plan of trying to get f3, e4 in. He's got these two bishops. Does white have a slight edge in this position? I kind of like white's position right now.
I once lost this kind of position with black against Grandmaster Lenich. Exactly, this two bishops against two knights in the structure. So I think white has a slight edge.
And what are the plans? What are the dangerous ideas that white had or that you had to experience in that game, Davarin?
Like you mentioned, f3.
F3, e4, yeah.
Actually, what Lenich did in that game, he played bishop e1, f3, and then the bishop went to, I think, f2 or g3. I'm not sure.
F3 on the board. The only thing is that the d4 pawn needs to be defended before white makes the move e4. So queen d6 and e4 is still not possible because you trade and you pick up the pawn on d4. But once white is able to break in the center with e4, these two bishops will dominate. So black needs to find a way to counter that, and I'm not really being able to see that right now. What is black's plan? Does he want to go g6, king g7, rook h8 ideas? I
would love to be able to do that. Tanya, let me just demonstrate e4. And what happens so that, yeah, this is an issue. Assuming there's nothing on the F file, then that's the problem. So white, we don't think can break straight away. I would love to play G6 and King G7. And
then white would love to play E4. Once you go G6, you go E4.
Yeah.
But okay, how is G4 here? We need to make a move for white, but I just wonder whether black can play G4.
Seems that way.
Yeah, so I wonder whether white should actually play H3, but then...
but that G3 square, Danny. That G3 square.
Yeah. So how do you want to exploit it? Knight? Still could get tricky.
Yeah, knight H5 and knight G3 and maybe F5.
Yeah, I wonder if I can play E4 now. But then we could always just shove the knight in anyway. Because we're not too worried about this. That's okay.
If I take, sorry, on E4 instead.
Well, I was hoping that something would happen on F7.
And then knight F4.
Yeah. And E5. What's going on here? Crazy stuff. Knight takes E5. Maybe it's just good for that. But in any case, I don't think E4 is working. So yeah, maybe just knight H5 is good here. So
He plays the pawn on the other side of the board. He goes for A3 instead. Now that's a move that's a little hard to understand.
I think he just wants to drop the queen back to C2 without allowing knight B4.
All right, that makes a lot of sense now.
That might be what it's about. But let's have a look at G4 anyway. Maybe he just doesn't care. Maybe he's just going to go queen C2 so that after the trade, then he'll be able to switch the queen to the king side. That's actually quite annoying.
Yep.
And then black has a few problems to solve because obviously, you want to play G6 and King G7, but with these bishops here, something like this, it looks way too risky. So A3, very interesting move.
But maybe black should also improve his knight the one on c6, so maybe something like knight d8, knight d6. I'm not sure.
Right. Yes, because then against e4, the knight is looking good.
Yeah. But then white could push e4 here, so I'm not sure.
Yes, it's too slow, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's a problem.
Yeah.
Mm.
The moment you leave that attack on the d4 pawn, white wants to get e4 in, so hard to move around with the knight. Can we take a look at this position that you're mentioning with g4? Because it's such a direct line and looks like black's only way to get counterplay here. So you wanted to go queen c2 here, Danny.
Yeah, just come back queen c2, and actually, this queen is flipping over, and I have to say, in this kind of position, I would be very, very concerned with black, actually. Very concerned.
Now that your queen isn't attacking the b7 pawn, can black try and set up a doubled rook on the e file, trying to target the e3 pawn?
Okay, well, in this position, so rook here?
Rook e7, I think. Rook
if I just come back, I was actually considering playing rook e7 in this position.
I kind of wanted to defend that b7 pawn as well once you move the queen, but I get what you mean, because after rook e8, e3 is attacked.
Yeah, well, I was just thinking probably white wants to play queen c2 anyway, and if queen c2, then of course we double.
Let's go for it then. Queen c2.
Yeah.
He's gone for g4. So let's take a look at this line. So g4 played queen d1. So not to c2, but to d1. So he's attacking the g4 pawn and basically asking black to take a decision with it. And after g takes f3, what do you recapture with the g pawn?
G pawn. Yes, please.
Always.
Yeah, please. And then, yeah, well, obviously the king will come here and we start using the g file. I have to say, I think this looks really nice for white now.
Whoa, Danny, he takes it with the rook.
What do we know? Nothing at all. The commentator's curse strikes once more, Tanya. What do we know?
Davarin, are you surprised with this decision at all?
I am a bit, yeah. I thought if he's going to take with any piece, it's going to be the queen. But
well, that's true. If you take, yeah, even this, yeah, but
okay, he wants the rook on the third rank, obviously.
He wants to get it to h3.
So what's the story? What about knight e4? Let's
go rook h3, queen h5.
Okay, some
or rook e6.
Rook e6 on the board, by the way. Instead of knight e4, he starts with rook e6.
Okay. I'm really surprised at rook f3, I've got to say. But also even queen d1, because I don't think it was necessary to force this exchange. I have to say, queen c2 transferring over to h4 just feels really nice to me.
It looks very natural.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's where we're at. And the queen for the moment is blocked out from the king side. Lots of questions in this game. They're having to make big decisions very quickly. This is the thing. But Levon has now doubled on the f file, which is, of course, adds some pressure to f7. So it is still very much in the balance. There we go. The queen. Now the queen comes to h4. So he's getting there.
Queen h4, rook h3 is a bit scary to deal with.
It certainly is.
So you start with rook h3 so that rook e3 doesn't come in. So white's next move is rook h3. How is black fighting this threat?
A very reasonable question.
I'm not good at defending these positions. So.
No.
All right, let's take a look.
I would definitely, I know which color I would prefer to play.
There's no questions asked here, right?
No, just get
Everyone would pick white.
Yeah.
And I really, once you see this on the board, everything makes sense. This queen d1, taking it with the rook, quickly jumping across the board.
We take it all back. Levon, we love his play. It was perfect. Yeah.
Knight e4. All right, Danny, let's take a look at the most direct line here now. Knight e4 played. Do we start with queen h4? But that runs into... Let's start with queen h4 first, because I've got a thread. If you go knight c3, queen h7, queen h8, checkmate.
Yeah, let's go with that one.
h6, yeah? You have to play.
What do you have to play?
Queen
Queen
H6.
to H6.
You think Queen H6?
Hmm.
Well,
That
I'll tell you what. Even this endgame, I would say is pretty good for white because, well, rook takes, then rook takes f7, and after pawn takes, I'm going to sit my rook here. I've got d5 coming. I think that is very unpleasant for black to defend. Oh, by the way, that's a pawn.
all right. He goes, by the way, for this endgame,
I mean,
Danny.
it
Queen
looks
H4 played.
tremendous.
Yeah, it looks
I think
very
it's actually,
powerful.
I mean, it's just a pawn for nothing. And black's pawns are just horrific here. I mean, this is just a horror show.
Maybe to take with the rook instead on e4.
Okay.
And then rook f7
Sacrifice it for some outpost.
for some time, space, and
Yeah.
psychological factors.
Maybe rook e7 and play. Okay, but
Which rook?
d8.
E8. Yeah, okay.
Okay, but it's ugly.
It certainly is.
Oh, he goes g6. And is that not walking into big trouble with rook h3?
I would say so.
You have to go queen f6. I don't see another move.
And then, well, why can't we just check and take on e4?
Yeah, we can.
Game
Wait,
over?
so rook h3 on the board. How is black defending this?
I don't think black is. This is 1-0.
No, but look at his body language. That's a game right there.
Queen h8 is checkmate in 1.
Yeah.
f6, queen h8, rook h7 is checkmate in 2.
I think this is resigned. He's played queen f6 and now, well, it's game over.
Whoa. And
Bishop
that's bishop
e4.
e4? Are
That's
we
it.
missing something?
We're missing nothing. It's game over.
Oh my god. That was unbelievable. Danny, can we just go back a few moves and just see what happened? Because this was game over. Very, very. What happened here?
I tell you what, do you know what? I think g4 in itself is maybe just a mistake because it just gives white too many chances on the king side. So Levon did this, which we kind of went, really? And yeah, it was actually really good. So this is the problem. And do you know what? Davorin, here is your moment where you say, yes, I give up an exchange. Because this is different. This is different because if the queen comes over to h4, we can switch the rook. So you've got to take. And now we say, well, my knight dominates those rooks. Isn't this playable?
Very good. I see that you read the book.
I did. I'm going to plug the book again because I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was a tremendous book. There you go. Beyond Material. Our guest, Davorin, wrote it. And it's also a Chessable course as well.
Yeah, video course.
Yeah. So, yeah, I warmly recommend the book. I really enjoyed it. There you go. I'm learning.
Yeah, definitely check out the book and the course on Chessable. I think a lot of us struggle with this ability to give up material for these things which are not very tangible, no direct lines. And that's what this is about, getting over that and actually being able to give up material, sacrificing to get these positional concepts and positional initiative. So if you struggle with that, definitely take a look at this. Davorin, I'm being told that you won't be with us for the next round, but thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you a lot. It was a real pleasure.
Davorin, before you go, I'm going to put you on a spot and ask you to make a prediction in this final.
I think Aronian is going to win.
Well,
Can I have a musical wish at the end for Daniel?
Oh no, the pressure is on.
Danny, we can't say no to guests.
Davorin,
That's the rule. That's the rule on the show.
Davorin, what kind of music do you like?
Oh, I listen to rock. So I just listened to yesterday's, the bass line.
Oh yeah, I don't think it came over.
But I couldn't hear it. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it came across very clear. I think we have huge technical issues.
we had huge technical issues. They have been fixed. And of course, Danny, you have to keep up your promises, but we'll see how that goes. Davaran, thank you so much for joining us. And everyone, check out the course on Chessable as well as the book. And especially if you want to play like AlphaZero, sacrificing things for positional initiatives, definitely take a look at that. Thank you so much for joining us, Davaran.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Right.
All right, Danny, time, space, and psychology. All of this needs to be fixed by Artemiev. He's constantly shot on the clock. He did mess up game 2, having an extra pawn. In game 3, you could see him get tensed. You could see the nerves coming into play. Levon absolutely cool and calm, and then finishing the game off in style. A big game 4 coming up. Artemiev has to win on demand to level the score, or else Levon takes set 1. Tani, we're going to go into a short break. We'll be right back.
Freedom! So fresh, so new. Freedom! It's all for you. All for you. Freedom! Keep your ear to the ground. Talking about freedom! It's the best show in town. Best show in town. Freedom!
Air quality isn't the first thing that comes to mind when you think about chess and esports, but it affects our focus, decision-making, health, sleep, and more. What's in the air you breathe? Find out with Air Things. Breathe better. Live better.
Want to raise your chess to a new level? Challenge Yourself is an exclusive, innovative experience designed for Chess24 Premium members. Train like a champ with a unique set of lessons prepared by the coaches of the challengers. Boris Gelfand and co will help you improve your chess. Play a champ. Play a grandmaster each day in Banter Blitz. Take advantage of this incredible opportunity from June 10th. Go premium and challenge yourself.
Take your chess to the next level with carefully selected collections featuring some of the best video series from Chess24. Buy the courses to own them forever, save up to 60%, or go premium and access all series while having all other privileges of premium membership. Learn more at chess24.com/deals.
Super discounts on merchandise. Massive sales on courses from Chessable. Chessable and Chess24 bundles, with new deals appearing every day. Visit chess24.com/deals.
first thing that comes to mind when you think about chess and esports, but it affects our focus, decision making, health, sleep, and more. What's in the air you breathe? Find out with Air Things. Breathe better, live better.
So fresh, so new. Freedom! It's all for you. All for you. Freedom! Keep your ear to the ground. Talking about freedom! It's the best show in town. Best show in town. Freedom!
Air quality isn't the first thing that comes to mind when you think about chess and esports, but it affects our focus, decision making, health, sleep, and more. What's in the air you breathe? Find out with Air Things. Breathe better, live better.
Want to raise your chess to a new level? Challenge Yourself is an exclusive, innovative experience designed for Chess24 Premium members. Train like a champ with a unique set of lessons prepared by the coaches of the challengers. Boris Girlfriend and Co. will help you improve your chess. Play a champ. Play a grandmaster each day in Banter Blitz. Take advantage of this incredible opportunity from June 10th. Go premium and challenge yourself.
Take your chess to the next level with carefully selected collections featuring some of the best video series from Chess24. Buy the courses to own them forever, save up to 60%, or go premium and access all series while having all other privileges of premium membership. Learn more at chess24.com.
Welcome back, everyone. We've got action on the Magnus Carlsen Ding Liren game. Magnus Carlsen leads that set. Ding needs to win to equalize, to level the match. Now, of course, our big matchup is Levon Aronian taking on Artemiev in the finals. Levon leads with a point. Artemiev playing catch up. One more game to go on that. And Danny, we're going to go through this. But before that, I've got chat open in front of me. And I'm going to ask chat, what do you think? Do you think Artemiev is going to bounce back? Will he be able to level the score, or does Levon take this one away? So your predictions of results in game 4 between Levon and Artemiev. Is it going to be 1-0, 0-1, or a draw? Levon plays with the black pieces. Now, let me tell you, chat, before you answer anything, Artemiev with the white pieces, we can expect a lot of chaos on the board.
I'll tell you what, Tanya, I think, that loss in the last game, I think Artemiev was badly affected after his second game, where he didn't clinch that win. And really, he should have done. It was a kind of technical position. He's obviously very, very disappointed, and I think it affected his game in the third game, which he lost, because actually that was a pretty bad loss, wasn't it? He went down so quickly.
Yeah.
Such a pity.
And Danny, I've got chat up in front of me, and they seem to agree with you. Levon will take it away. Levon looks strong. Lev 2 experience. He'll probably draw the fourth game easily. Levon, since prelims, has been consistent. That is true. So a tough task ahead of Artemiev. Well, he's not the only one. Ding Liren as well. Now, Danny, what's going on in this one? Ding with the black pieces. Once again, just looking at the position, it looks like Magnus has everything under control in this one.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Listen, let's go from the top. E4, it's a carro, and Carlsen has gone for this exchange variation, which I have to say, I'm a big fan of this line with white. Very simple. You play, basically you're playing a Queen's Gambit exchange variation with white, with colors reversed. So you get this pawn structure, and white's development is very clear. Now, bishop g4 kind of is an upsetting move. Queen b3, and black has to decide how to defend this pawn. Queen c7, normal. Knight here, you want to play bishop f4. And that's why Ding has exchanged. So Ding also playing in a very straightforward manner, gives the bishops, but gets very easy development. And g3 cuts out this one. h5, interesting. And Castle's queenside. Okay, we have imbalance, but Carlsen goes queenside. That's funny. It feels like Ding is okay here. I mean, it's nice to have the knight on c4, but let's see. Eliminated. Queen goes back. Let me just point out that in this position, this shouldn't be taken because of pin and win. So that's why rook c8 played instead. Bishop f4, rook over. Quite a cagey position. It's quite subtle. Now, I imagine Carlsen will play bishop takes rather than pawn takes. But then again, this h-pawn is hanging. That's kind of interesting. So if here, then the knight will come to e4. Maybe not so.
The f2 pawn is weak as well, so you can't really pick up the h5 pawn immediately.
So yeah, but I mean, I want to play bishop takes, really. I think that's a nice move.
You also don't want to play d takes e5 because that blocks off and shuts off your own bishop. So unless you're winning...
Tanya, it was only if I could take that pawn.
Yeah, only if you're winning material immediately, Danny, then it makes perfect sense. Otherwise, you're absolutely right that bishop e5 is the move you want to make here. Yeah,
definitely. The only thing is, I wonder, I mean, he's hesitating. So I'm just... Because, I mean, bishop takes feels like the move you would make very quickly.
He's considering a queen trade?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. But I don't believe it can offer white very much at all. I don't see the problem.
What it does offer white is one game closer to winning the... But he decides to go for your line, Danny. Of course, the most natural looking move, bishop e5. He also trades off this bishop, and to me, this is essentially a draw offer.
Yeah, it's feels pretty even, doesn't it?
h4, queen f5 check. The h5 pawn is defended, and I think this is just going to, and that's it, queen c2.
Yeah, agreed. It's not a thriller, this one, but well, I was going to say, does black have a little something to play for? Not really. Takes, b5. It's just even. Let's just show that. So if takes, yeah, that's on the board. King takes, king coming over. The king will come to d6. But essentially, there's not a huge amount going on here. You know, if black tries the traditional minority attack with the b pawn, then it's actually terribly easy to defend against. You can play with a3. If b4 comes, you can always hit the a file. King comes to d3. Yeah, this looks pretty normal. If black tries to break with f6, you can always shut that one down with f4 anyway. So, yeah, Tania, I hear what you're saying. I think this one is gonna peter out pretty quickly. And Carlsen he's a point up, isn't he? He's one game up. So Magnus is going to be pretty happy to play solidly.
I'm actually also really amazed that these two players are fighting in this match, and we haven't seen any of those 10 move, 12 moves draw. The game that Magnus also won, including the first game, some big fights there. And I think for Ding Liren, if this one peters out and fizzles out, that's fine too, because he's going to say, I have the white pieces in the final round of the day. I'm going to go all out in that one. So Danny, I think this one definitely is headed for a draw. A4 played here. Ding Liren taking his time. Meanwhile, we've got liftoff in the very important Artemiev-Lev game. And as Dani, I was mentioning, a major support for Lev in chat, simply because of the way he won the previous game as well, his experience in the event. And of course, this is a debut moment for Artemiev. But you know what, Dani? Artemiev with the white pieces, an absolute monster.
Yeah, well, he's going to try and create something interesting on the board, and already we can see he started out with the good old Trompovsky. It's a huge opening favourite in England. So many English players have played the good old Tromp. Julian Hodgson, of course, great exponent for this, but many other players. Mickey Adams, England #1, have quite often used the Tromp. But many English players have included in their repertoire. So let's see what Levon is going to do. Now, you can just take on f6, damage the pawns, but no. We have knight d2. That's a more subtle way of playing. And actually, we get exactly the same structure as Carlsen and Ding have played. Basically this exchange Caro-Kann, and even the same pieces. Now, that's funny. So Levon playing in a very solid way, actually. Now, a little hesitation from Artemiev. Remember, folks, Artemiev in a must-win situation. He has to win this to tie the set 2-all.
All right, so he's definitely considering whether he goes knight f3 or queen f3. Danny, let's take a look at queen f3. Let's take a look at this option. It just looks like it puts pressure on the f6 knight. Maybe he wants to go long castle. Very scary with that c file open. But how do you react to this? Do you go bishop e7 now? Will you be afraid of bishop f6?
I guess you just play bishop e7. I mean, you know me, I want to give up my pieces and my pawns. I was thinking queen b6 to hit here, but actually...
this would make Artemiev so happy.
I think it would make him absolutely. It would make him a very happy bunny. So, I mean, I imagine, yeah, absolutely. I think bishop e7 is the move. But listen, your idea of castling queenside, well, what do you think? What do you think?
I would love to see it on the board.
Let's make life interesting, hey?
Long castle.
It might be a load of old rubbish, but let's try it. Actually, I don't like it. To be honest, Tanya, I don't like it at all. So
I don't like it either, Danny.
No,
I think it's only interesting for black.
Yeah, because in this case, that minority attack looks fast,
deadly.
And actually, the problem is if white had some play on the king side, very difficult to generate quick play on the king side. This is the problem. You know, you can play g4, but it's not actually. It's just a demonstration. It's nothing else. He's actually recaptured with the knight, which I think is the most sensible because we want to look at the e5 square.
Absolutely. But he has taken 3 minutes in that process. And that's a bit of a clock burn right there. Knight f3, a natural looking move. Bishop d6. He continues to respond quickly, keeping the pressure on the clock as well. Bishop d6 develop, bishop d3 develop. He's going to go short castle now. And where is White's play in these positions? How does he create his chances?
Well, it's the king side. You know, he's going to play castles, rook e1, bishop e2. He's going to play the knight into e5. You can play this one, but I have a funny feeling Levon might be considering going queenside in as Ding, exactly as Ding did. There we go, queen c7. He's certainly not bothered about these pawns being broken. Well, in fact, this is a very strong clump of pawns, and Levon has taken control over this diagonal. That is not going to happen. He's not going to exchange on f6. I think this is a very attractive plan, as Ding has played. You know, the other move is that Black wants to play bishop f4 to exchange off those bishops. So that is why Carlsen actually went g3. But here, I don't know about g3.
G3, Danny, I know what you want to play after G3.
Yeah, you know me too well. I want to give up all my pieces. Actually, I think it's a load of old rubbish. I think this is actually fine for White. I think we can we just go king here and king c2?
King d2, all right. What's going on after knight e4? Let's continue the fun.
Okay, maybe it's not completely bonkers. Oh, it should be. I mean, here.
Knight g5.
Oh, I beg your pardon. Do you know what? I was only looking at this. I was only looking at knight f2. Knight g5. I'm so sorry. Okay, so knight e4.
Maybe it's really something, because bishop d4, you hit the knight and you win the bishop.
Let's just take a timeout for a little moment.
But not easy, Danny. Even I thought that bishop g3 could never work in this position. But now what we have in front of us, not so easy, because king e2, there's queen g2 check. Not sure what's going on after that.
Okay, let's run. Come on.
Knight e4, let's go for it.
Knight e4. Now mate threatened. Queen f2.
Oh, you've got bishop e4, and maybe you go king e4 as well.
Yeah.
But that shouldn't be fine, Danny. King e4, I feel there should be something with.
Cannon to the right, cannon to the left.
Of course, this was never going to happen. This was just never going to happen. G3
Tanya, just for fun, let me just show this. I think White is actually okay here, but after this, a very bad move would be here, and queen g6 or
king f4.
Is the king surviving? No,
that would be a miracle.
Okay, wait a second. Surely we can do this. I know f5 and g5. There we are.
F5, king d3, Danny.
F5. No, that's right. Now the king goes back to d3. Yeah, that's why I played queen g6. Okay, I'm trying to construct a checkmate. Anyway, listen. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not going to happen for so many reasons. Of course, he didn't play g3. He in fact, just after queen c7, he castled kingside and played rook c1. Well, I wonder. There is now imbalance in the position. So Artemiev is going to be happy with that.
Yes.
His king position is reasonably safe.
And he's going for it, Danny. He doesn't waste time. And I was just wondering about this b4 immediately on the board. You want to start pushing those pawn a4, a5 as well in the air. Meanwhile, Black can also start doing stuff on the king side. Can he start with h6? He goes for it. Now, you never want to trade the knight on f6. Bishop f6, gf6 would be a dream position for Lev. Opens up the g file, control in the center. So you have to fall back with the bishop.
Yeah, but now I would be concerned about g5, g4 to crack open a file.
Yes, that move h3 is such a big hook for Black, because if Black gets in g4, he actually strikes at White's king fast. So g5 is the move that we need to be looking at, Danny, 100%.
The board.
On the board.
I don't know. I would feel uncomfortable if I were White in this position. This is not your dream outcome from the opening. Okay, here's a little idea. So b5, knight a5, right? Looks
Mhm.
reasonable. And now knight e5. So here's my idea, that after takes, well, I look at those beautiful bishops and I say, must be okay. In fact, bishop d4, I think, is winning material straight away. Yeah, so knight e5, interesting. And what's my next move? That's the only thing. I want to try and force through c4. Yeah, maybe queen f3 or queen e2 and angling for c4. Or queen a4. Yeah, maybe this is okay. Well, I don't know. Let's just say it's interesting. I think b5 is an interesting option.
Danny, it might be the only way forward for white because black has already started his campaign against white's king. White doesn't have all the time in the world. He needs to find these direct ways of going forward. And I like your idea of getting that knight to e5. So let's take a look at that. Because if you make a move like a4 here, we know what black's next move is. He wants to go g4. He wants to get rook g8, g4 in. And that's just super dangerous for white.
Yeah, I mean, I think it feels so natural for black to play like this.
Rook g8 coming and bishop h2 check coming in. This is not a position you're playing for a win with the white pieces.
Well, it's just you're under pressure. I mean, I don't know if I'm being panicky here, but it just feels like white has to react quickly.
Let's take a look. So knight e5, bishop e5, d takes e5, opens up that bishop, can't recapture that pawn. Does black have time to fall back with the knight and start picking up the pawn with the knight instead?
Yeah, I'm looking at b60 stuff as well.
Nice. Let's go for it, Danny. Let's go for it.
I don't know whether we play it immediately or whether I mean, I'm looking at playing bishop d4 first.
Let's take on e5.
Yeah, now I wanted to try something b60. Like this, and now... Or is the knight just... Oh, okay, rook b1.
Rook b1, and let's channel our inner Davorin and play knight c4.
Which one? Which knight, Tanya?
Not sure, but maybe the A knight or the E knight. Oh my god, this is confusing.
I love that. Easy. Within 2 seconds, you contradict.
By the way, b5 on the board, Danny. We might be seeing this line. We might be seeing something along this variation. Knight a5, of course, has to be played. You want to also stop white from playing c4. So knight a5 is the square that you want your knight on to block all the attack on the queen side. And now, Danny, we might have knight e5. We might have it.
It concerns me that Artemiev is once again consuming so much time. He's down to 540. Levon has only, he's taken so little time. He has 14 and a half minutes left, whereas Artemiev 5.5 minutes. That concerns me. It feels like he's lost confidence. That's often using so much time is an indication of that, actually, more than anything.
I think that loss of confidence that you're talking about actually begins from that game too, Danny. You know, at this level, when you have that extra pawn, you're just expecting yourself to convert that into a win. But the clock again played a big role, and Levon survived that one. And game 3, we saw what happened. Levon pretty much crushed his way to victory in that. So Artemiev has to deal with all these things as well. Definitely a difficult psychological moment for him. And now what he's gotten, the opening outcome of this, with 4.5 minutes on the clock. And look at Lev's clock. He's got about the time that he started with. This is a tough one for Vlad.
But also, it seems curious to make a very committal move like pawn to b5, and then to think again. You'd think that once you make your committal move, you follow up instantly. By the way, he's played knight d2, something a little bit different. So just covering the c4 square. So there is the potential to play like this.
Also stepping away from g4.
Yeah, very true. But okay.
But let's go for it, Danny. Let's get our rook on g8.
Exactly. I mean, I assume this one, but we could also do the other one. Maybe the other one's a bit committal, but yeah.
What I like about the other rook on d8 is that when you do play c4, suddenly that rook on d8 will play a big role in the game because the d file opens up.
Right. So in other words, not this one because of c4. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, rook hg8 looks very natural, doesn't it?
I think regardless of the rook you play, white would play c4 and try and get that play in. And look what Levon does. He simply shuts off white. He says he's not even going to give a white the opportunity to create something and plays the move knight c4.
Well, it does give him a wonderful square on d5 for the knight. That has to be admitted. But I wonder, can we stir things up? I mean,
Stirring them up with queen a4, stirring them up with queen a4, hitting that c4 pawn, and also a very sneaky idea of d5 and attacking a7.
Ooh, that could be interesting. So this one is attacked. So I'm assuming he's going to play, Levon is going to play rook c8. Now, do you think d5 immediately or something else?
I think we should look at it. Let's take a look.
Okay. Well, there is the option to play b6 or bishop c5. Bishop c5 can be taken.
Rook c8 on the board. It was the only way for black to defend the c4 pawn. So rook c8 has been played. And now d5, it attacks that. It threatens mate in one. So Danny, what's your move here?
Well, I don't know. I'm just wondering if after this, maybe it's just nothing special. He's played d5.
He goes for it. He goes for d5, b6. This is heating up now, Danny.
That's on the board. That's on the board. Yeah, but I'm just, like I said, I'm just wondering whether actually this isn't so special. I'm not.
So how are you evaluating this? Who do you think is better here? Because I am not, it's not very clear to me.
I don't know. I'm just feeling that black is still absolutely fine because g4 is still in the air, by the way. There's a potential to put the knight on d5. I don't know, just g4 is an obvious threat. And, you know, at the moment, the queen, because the queen hasn't done the thing, it's cut out of play. I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm not sure about this. I tell you what, I was thinking in this position. I was wondering whether this move was possible. So with the idea, I know this is irrelevant now, but so this I think is interesting for white. And after pawn takes, whether we've given a pawn and we just play rook b5. I mean, maybe
black goes knight d5 and hits
knight
d5.
d5.
This is a bit.
That's a problem. Yeah. I'm trying to, I'm trying to create some play here, but knight f3 played. All right, okay. He's got an idea. Knight c6.
Now, if that knight comes to c6, that is something for white, and he goes g4. So black also really going for it. And what happens? Can we take a look at what happens after knight d4 here?
Let's have a little look. So how serious is that threat? So knight c6, the king will go to a8. And I don't know if there's...
I'm not seeing a follow-up. So maybe you can just grab on h3.
Let's grab it. Check. Here. Oh, well, c4 is on.
Yeah, but there's bishop h2 and gh2. So let's just take a look at that line.
So sorry, if I take here, let me just take here instead.
Yeah, I think this is safe. But now we give a check on the g file. So let's bring one of the rooks. You pick, Danny.
Okay, this one.
The eternal question, which rook?
Yeah.
Let's go. Wow. I want to go queen g7, rook g1. So maybe not queen g7. Let's go queen h7.
Queen h7. Ah, but now I'm going to take on e4 because I'm covering the e4 square.
That is right.
So can we just go back? Because, well, Levon has played
Danny, 1 second. Just to finish that line, because queen c4, there was still queen f5. There are all these very, very important ideas in the position.
Okay.
Because you see that king. This is scary. This is scary.
And that's game over. Because the point is queen h4, there's actually queen f3 mate. So yeah,
exactly.
Okay, that is very scary. So what has he got here? Artemiev in this position has actually taken. Well,
I think he was just very afraid of this gh3 and just completely blowing open the king side, and then he recaptures with the knight, and now knight d4. This looks interesting, but first question, Danny, bishop h2 check, king h1. And what about these typical ideas of moving the bishop to g1 and threatening queen h2 mate? It doesn't get you anything because white has got... What has white got here?
Well, I suppose, I mean, g3 is, I think, just holding. And another, if you're desperate, you can play here, check, here, you take on a7, give that, and just take here. Do you see what I mean?
I just want to show one line, Dani, and I think
Can I just show this very quickly?
Yeah, this is good. This is good. I think this is good.
And then, well, white's a pawn up. Let's just finish there. But g3 is also possible, I think.
I was thinking that g3 can be a little dangerous. In fact,
really?
I like what you've just shown, because after g3, especially if you don't put the check in, I think it's crucial to put the check in. But let's just show the danger if white doesn't give that check on c6.
You wanted to take here and take on g3, right?
Take on g3 and then rook g1. There's queen h3 checkmate.
Yeah, but I think because I've done this, then
it solves all problems. Yes.
Yeah. So doesn't anyway. I don't. It doesn't look like it's an issue, does it? I think we can agree on that.
So rook f8 played, absolutely. So rook f8 on the board now. But wait a second. What happens after knight takes e6, and then you go? Then you go where, Dani?
Golly, that's interesting. So let's take a look. Knight e6. Whew. Scary.
He gives a check on c6, but what are we missing here?
Well, I wonder if he can check and play queen e5.
I like that. I like that a lot.
So just to transfer to h5.
That would be game over. That would be game over.
Good. Okay, so listen, the game continuation. Let's just recap. He's given a check and he's taken on c4. So is Artemiev hitting back? He's only got 3 minutes remaining.
All right, first question, bishop a3. You hit the rook on c1, you threaten the mate on h2, but you've got queen takes g4, so black can't rush with these things. The knight on g4 is hanging. He goes for the original idea. Dani, bishop h2 check on the board. Let's stay up to date with that. King h1, bishop g1, queen h2 is the big threat. Once again, g3 impossible in this position. This is where we want to show that line that after g3, knight takes e3, f takes e3, queen g3, rook g1, queen h3 is checkmate.
Boom! That's a boom moment, yeah. Now, so this is different because the queen has slipped to c4. There's no mate on a7, so this is possible. Oh, is this just a disaster? Are we overlooking something? Is this just game over?
Okay, what about queen e4 here, Dani? I'm trying to get something in on this diagonal. Is this a move?
Okay, well, first things first. Can I... maybe this is...
Yeah, I think knight a5 or knight d8, and then you come back knight c6.
Yes, but listen, a draw is... Levon just needs a draw.
That's all he needs. Knight e3 on the board, and we are getting confirmation by Tad, Dani, that queen e4 holds for white. But that means if white holds, it's basically set over for Artemiev.
Yeah, this has happened, by the way. It's gone. It's gone queen e4. Sorry, let me just back up for a moment. So queen e4 is on the board here. And yeah, it just looks like a draw, doesn't it?
Because you just go knight a5 or knight d8. The main idea is to stop queen b7 from intercepting. And when the king falls back to b8, you give a check again on c6. Black doesn't have enough material to sacrifice the queen. And this is just going to end. A repetition is unavoidable. Imminent repetition.
Such a pity. Artemiev is going to be looking for something here, but I think he's going to look in vain. If he takes this, he's just going for the draw. Such a pity. I mean, if he takes on f1, nothing's happening. I think black can just do this. It doesn't change anything, does it? Yeah, I think we're heading for a draw, and that is the first set to Aronian. We've repeated once. This is on the board. That's not the position, but yeah. I think he can search in vain. He's not going to find anything there. King takes bishop. Knight g3. He's taken... Well, do you know what?
Yeah.
Desperate measures. This is on the board, but it's not sufficient, is it? I don't think it's still going to end in a draw. Feel sorry for Artemiev.
Don't really see anything else that white can do in this position, because so knight d8, eventually he has to go for this. And he gives a check from a5, trying to pick up some time. But That's it. That's it. And with that, Levon Aronian taking away set 1 of the finals of the Goldmoney Asian Rapid.
I feel desperately sorry for Artemiev. He showed some really, really nice ideas in, well, the first game was short, but the second game, tremendous. Didn't clinch it. And then Levon pounced in game 3. And then this game 4 was a bit of a disaster again. So, yeah, Levon, in the end, basically takes that first set pretty convincingly, actually, because Artemiev couldn't pull himself together for games 3 and 4.
Absolutely. And even this 4th game where Lev needed to keep things under control, he took these dynamic decisions. I really liked that move, knight c4, Danny. We do have, maybe we'll just come back to this, but let's just quickly show that one, I think, which really changed the position in Black's favor when Levon chose the move knight c4, blocking down c4, shutting White's counter play out, and opening that d5 square and the diagonal for himself. I really liked this play by Levon right here. Knight d2, threatening c4, not rushing in this position. And let's just move on.
Yeah, so knight c4. Yeah, it's a good move, definitely.
And after this, he just held everything together. And with that, Danny, I just think it was Lev's day. It was Lev's day all throughout, except that game 2 and missing that big opportunity will cause a sleepless night to Artemiev. And Danny, we'll come back to Magnus's game, but we do have the players with us in Oslo.
So I started finally playing normally because I started off very slowly, and second game was, of course, kind of a miracle that I survived.
Yeah. And I want to ask you, in this final game, so of course you only needed the draw to win the match, and then you castled queenside, and David said, wow, this is courage. Why did you decide to do that?
If I play passively, there is a danger of giving him too much play, and I wanna stay in the game. So I don't want to be on the receiving end.
Cool.
And Levon, we've seen you playing very quickly throughout today, often establishing a big time advantage. Is that a conscious decision, a conscious strategy?
Yeah, throughout the tournament, I'm just trying to follow my instincts, and sometimes it leads to blunders, but sometimes it works out. So it's always thin balance that I need to find. I think I managed in the 3rd and 4th games, and I'll try to build on it.
And of course, it's going to be quite different for you in the second match tomorrow versus second match in the semi-final where you had to make a comeback. Now you're in the lead, but will that fighting spirit that we talked about yesterday be a big sort of factor for you as well tomorrow?
Absolutely. It's the finals, and I'm sure that Vladislav is going to bring everything he has, because he's a great player. And so I have to be ready for it.
What would it mean to you, Levon, to win the Goldmoney Asian Rapid?
I would be extremely happy, because it's a proof that my work on my chess is continuing, and it's continuing into the right direction.
And I think I saw on Instagram yesterday that your girlfriend has also joined you now in Paris. What is life like now in between games here and between every day in the tournament?
Oh, she's helping me a lot with everything. I don't have to think about anything, and she's even adjusting my camera every day before the game. So.
Fantastic. Well, yeah. I hope you too enjoy a nice evening in Paris, Levon, and good luck on the final day tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for joining us. And then we're also joined by Vladislav Artemiev. Losing day 1, Artemiev, what's your feeling now after day 1 in the final?
Hello to everyone. Yes, today was a difficult day. Fortunately, I lost the first match, but it's normal, it's fight, and it happens on your way. So, okay, I understand that it's possible. A little pity that game who I lost was very bad for me because I have a bad position after opening probably. I choose risky variation and finally I lost. And in the final game probably I can lose again if Levon choose queen f7 instead rook f8 maybe. So okay, I'm not very good today, but I have a chance tomorrow, so I will to fight and we'll see.
And what will you do for tomorrow's fight? What preparations will you do?
I will watch games Levon, and I hope that I can find something that can help me to take a rematch. But it's not easy, of course. But I will try, of course, absolutely.
Now, we did notice that you did get very low on the clock in most of the games today. Were you feeling nervous? Was that a factor in spending a lot of time?
Yes, it's true that I have some problems with time on my clock, and maybe I must tomorrow relax today evening. But also my openings today was not comfortable, and many factors. Of course, I must to improve my play for the win. Yes.
And of course, you must take a lot of confidence from the huge comeback you made in the semi-finals. Will that inspire you for the final day tomorrow?
Yes, I hope, yeah. But okay, it's a normal situation, absolutely. You not can to winning every day. So, okay, today Levon is better than me, so it happens.
All right. Well, we're very excited for the final day tomorrow. Good luck tomorrow, Vladislav.
Thank you very much. You too. Good luck.
Thanks for joining us. All right, such a polite, cool guy, Vladislav Artemiev. He has to make a comeback tomorrow if he's going to take the final to tie breaks. We're jumping into Game 4 between Ding Liren and Magnus Carlsen. They are fighting for the third place in the tournament. Magnus Carlsen is up by 1 point after winning a game. That means Ding, he has to win this game to tie the match. And do you see any chances of that win, David?
For sure. It's a really fascinating, unbalanced...
Very insightful interview there. And I have to say, Danny, Levon just always impresses me with how cool and calm and composed he is. Regardless of what happens in the game, he's got this zen aura about himself. And we've seen that time and time again in the semifinals as well as the finals. And it's really paying off because this format is really about keeping your nerves under control. Also, as Artemiev mentioned, he just had a bad day in office. And an interesting point by him that, in fact, in the fourth game, there was a moment that he felt he was in big trouble. Can we take a look at that?
Yeah, let's have a, your point about Levon being calm. Absolutely. And I like his attitude, and that translates into how quickly he was playing. And, conscious decision, basically to use his intuition. And as he said, sometimes it's going to work okay. Sometimes you make mistakes, but it's like he accepts that. And actually, in overall, it's definitely the best policy. He's relying on his intuition. Anyway, Tanya, to the position in point. Yep. So here, Rook F8 was played by Aronian. And as we saw, this actually led to a draw after this. And actually was a forced continuation. Mate threatened here. And G3 takes and Queen E4. And this is just a draw after this, and Knight C6, etc. However, Artemiev mentioned here that instead of Rook F8, he thought that Queen F7 was actually a winning move. Very interesting. So basic idea, pretty crude. He wants to come to h5 and then h2 mate. So, I mean, I haven't had a chance to look at this. What does white do here? I mean, I guess you can throw in a check, but we could take that and just carry on, which at first glance looks pretty fantastic for black.
Not easy to fight this direct threat of queen h5 and mate on h2.
Yeah, I mean, maybe Artemyev's right. Maybe it's as simple as that, because the queen is in Siberia, nowhere near defending the king. And it's a very simple idea, very direct. And actually, I don't see anything at all. Let me just go through that one again. Takes. Can we move the rook out? Should we try this one and see if this is a possible defense? Let's give a check. Now, how can we finish things off? We could give a check and take on...
Let's start with knight e3 first, because rook e3, you lose the rook, and f e3, there's rook f8.
Right, so this is clear. Looks very clear.
Should be.
F takes e3 looks horrific. Rook f8 must be finishing the game. Well, it's just mate. Should be mate here. Let's get it right. Queen h5, king here, rook here. Yeah, that'll do. I'm sure there are many ways to win, but that will do the job instantly. And that is mate straight away. So it looks as though
Funny line there, Danny, that I'm thinking about. After knight e3, rook e3, queen h1 check, king e2, queen c1, queen a6.
Queen a6, whoa.
But there's rook h7. There's a nice little queen c2, queen h7, or rook h7. All right, it is, this doesn't work.
Yeah, this one. And yes, a check as well. But rook h7 looks... yeah, I think I actually prefer queen c2 and queen h7, but I'm just slightly worried about this. I'm sure black is fine, but listen, let's take this approach and go queen h7, which does look really clear, doesn't it?
Yeah, that would be game over.
I hesitate, but yeah, so really interesting. Levon could have actually won, but I'm sure that he saw that actually he was about to force a draw.
Also possible that he just missed this idea of queen f7, queen h5. But in general, I think a really nice defense there by Levon in the end, finding these forced sequence of moves. We do still have action on the Ding Carlsen game. Now, Danny, you were mentioning about Levon's ability to play so creatively and find these moves very intuitively. Also, this calmness that we see in him, I think we've seen that in his personality in real life as well. And, as they say that chess imitates life, life imitates chess, it's exactly that what he brings to the board. And I think it comes a lot from his love for for music, for art, and for these kind of things. He has so much interest in all of this that you can feel that creative genius with that calmness.
Yeah, I think there's a sense of proportion to him, basically. Yeah, it's not, chess is not the be all and end all for him. He has other interests in life, music being one of them, art as well. And yeah, he's a rounded person, basically, He's a
big fan of classical music, and he's so knowledgeable about it. And I know that it plays a big role in his life. And it's very interesting to see that approach of him bringing that artistic ability. I remember Surya actually described him when we asked him to describe his style of play in one word, and he said artistic. And I think that's perfect.
Yeah. Listen, should we have a look at Ding against Carlsen? Ding Liren is in a must-win situation. He has to win this game in order to tie the first set. So I'm going to go from the top, actually. We have time. Speaking of playing on intuition and playing quickly, you see Magnus's clock time. Incredible. He's moving so quickly. Once again...
Why is it, Danny, that when I try and play on intuition, I still play like a noob? Why?
Listen, we've all been there. We've all done that. I hear you. It's tough, isn't it? These guys can do it. For us, it's not so simple. So once again, it's this line of the Catalan that gives white a little something, but it's not so easy. Queen b7, I think that is risky. Yeah, this one actually loses the queen this time. It's not even a draw. So let's see here. But we have some imbalance. Nevertheless, well, it's an interesting position, actually. It's a huge bishop, but it is a huge knight on c5 as well. Now, let's go to where we're at in the game.
All right, so...
It's quite double-edged, actually. You know, if white can push through in the middle, he's happy.
So let's just point out, Dani, that the a4 pawn that was hanging could not be picked up in the previous move. Rook d8 was very critical to be played. After knight a4, this double-edged position really explodes. e6 coming in, and you can't grab on e6 because of bishop takes e6, winning that rook. And because of that, Magnus starts with rook to d8.
And we have one more move. King here, and now he's taking it. Well...
Okay, Dani, because I really like it, can I just show one more line?
Please, please.
So if instead of rook d8, knight takes a4, because we've still got time on the clock. Magnus Carlsen, 14 minutes. Dingler in 5.5 minutes. Knight a4, e6. If you try and shut it out with f6, white simply goes e7 check, and you can't stop it from queening. King anywhere, bishop f7 coming in, and white wins.
Very nice. Do you know what? e6 is on the board anyway. Let's see how we got there. Here and e6 anyway. And Magnus is having a think. He's got 13.5 minutes. Ding has just 5.5 minutes. Well, what's the big deal? I mean, I don't want to allow... Let's just be very logical about this. We don't want to allow pawn takes pawn. Do we really want to... We don't want that one. That would allow e7. So I'm thinking we just take this. Takes. Oh, listen.
Let's snap up that c6 pawn.
Not so simple. Did Magnus overlook this? That's a little bit strange. Let's go back. That's curious. I wonder whether he just...
I think he did. Did you notice that little shift in his body language there? He sits up. He's been leaning back. He's been leaning back the entire game, completely comfortable with what he has. And there we saw him get a bit edgy there. And he leans forward, not very happy with this. Also, he's been blitzing out his moves. Could very well be a miss, Dani.
Yeah, I mean, he certainly didn't need to take on a4. I mean, the natural move here is to put the king on e7 and then think again. So was that just kind of a little slip? Did he simply forget that the rook at the end of it could take here? Let's just try and assess that position. I mean, it feels to me as though white has made massive progress there.
I like white. I would pick white here because that...
Sorry, Tania, I was just going to say, I mean, this is huge, isn't it? Because the bishop just sits on d5.
Rook c7, rook f7 coming in. And Magnus, because of all of these things, he can't allow white's rook on c6 hitting that pawn on b6. He instead decides to give white this very dangerous pawn on f7. Dani, this is progress as well.
Yeah, definitely. But it actually, I mean, fascinating position, because now Magnus can start pushing the pawns on the queen side. Now, what happens on bishop b3? And this one is attacked. What's going on here? That's curious. Or does he have knight b2 threatening a check? I mean, this is crazy stuff.
I think that works. Knight b2, rook c6. You can go rook d3.
Yeah.
Maybe start with bishop.
Let's try again. He's played bishop e2.
All right. So bishop e2 hits that pawn on c6. And also, it's a nice square because imagine, Dani, that bishop comes to h5, then threats of rook e8 suddenly become very real because the bishop from h5 also supports the e8 square. So black will always have to watch out for a rook jumping to e8 in these positions.
And the other thing is that c5 the b pawn can be snapped off. Well, this is very curious. It feels pretty dodgy for Magnus, doesn't it?
Very, very dodgy, Danny. This is such a big turnaround, and I think it all comes down to Magnus rushing in with his moves and allowing this e6. And Danny, I think this is the perfect moment with all this rushing that's happening. Let's call it. If Ding wins, we announce the gold rush moment. A very cool 50% off if Ding actually manages to convert this position and level the score. There will be a 50% off on premium membership. Go to chess24.com, enter the code GOLDRUSH, and there you'll have it. But for that, Ding needs to win. Magnus rushing his way and just messing up the position completely.
Once again, Tania, that was such a smooth link. I am very impressed.
Thank you. I try.
No, it's super smooth. We love it.
So this is a perfect moment. Wouldn't you agree? For a gold rush?
Yeah, definitely. No, I think it's fascinating one. You know, we were just praising Levon for his whole attitude and saying, oh, Magnus is doing the same. And then suddenly what happens? He he rushes too much and blunders.
Ooh, so b4, rook c6. The one thing Magnus needs to be careful about, what we've been speaking, Danny, bishop h5, rook e6, rook e8. Can we just have some arrows on the board? Just demonstrating this danger that exists in black's position. The idea of bishop h5, rook e6, rook e8. Something to watch out for.
Game over. Game over. I mean, that is not good. Okay, let's just go. So this is on the board. That is the danger. But there are so many threats here. You know, is this rook just going to come here and snap the pawn off? So many nice moves.
It's Ding's moment. Danny, is he going to do it? If you had to make a prediction right now, do you think Ding is going to level the score in this one?
I do. I do think.
Okay, that's a hot take.
Ding is going to do it. Okay, let's push this one. Counterplay. We desperately need counterplay.
Let's start with bishop. I really want to get bishop h5 idea. And let's start with bishop h5. Let's see what happens.
And you're gonna it's fast. So b2, we're in straight away.
I'm going for it, Danny. Rook e6. What is the live position? What has Magnus made a move?
He's played b3. Now let's have a look at your idea closely. Bishop h5. Is there a way out of this?
If bishop h5 happens, that's the highlight of my career, and I'm retiring. If bishop h5 is actually working here.
No, you're not retiring. What you're doing is you're pressing on with your career with greater confidence.
That is true. It's
bishop h5. Do you know what? It's make or break. It's a knockout blow. He's played rook c7.
It didn't happen, Danny. It didn't happen.
Yeah, but I want bishop h5.
Maybe king e7 was the point. You just stop rook e6.
Okay, this is on the board. Hang on, what happened? By the way, this doesn't look bad for white because he's just going into a rook and pawn endgame where this is just 2 extra pawns. I mean, I think it's just winning for Ding. No, Magnus is hanging tough. He's trying to get some play here.
Magnus has a thing for these knights on c3 and c6. He really enjoys them.
Okay, how do we do this? Okay, what happens if he plays here?
Rook c2 makes a lot of sense. You're hitting that knight. I'm not sure.
So if rook here, then I was hoping just to crawl across.
Are you in time after a3, rook c3? You're just in time. Rook c3, rook d8 check, king c2. All right, everything works.
So rook c2 is kind of a simple way to play. And now, I mean, I'm assuming that this endgame is good for white. Let's have a look. And then come across. Or does black have time to... does he have time to upset these pawns? Maybe g4, maybe rook a4 first? Maybe
and your move. By the way, Danny, we have it. He's gone for your idea.
But maybe this is Magnus's idea that he has time to try and upset these pawns. So
All right, so king b3 in that last. Let's take a look from here. Let's start from here. So knight takes e2.
Maybe
you pick it up with the rook.
Yeah, rook takes is probably better, isn't it?
I do like the king on e3.
Okay, so here.
All right, we've got to play rook a2 at some point. We can start with e5 maybe. Okay, let's start with rook a2.
I don't mind. I don't mind. So here.
I think it's all going to transpose. So let's go.
But do you see what I mean? Just while white is tied up, he's going to play rook a4 and try and break these pawns.
But will you get that in? Will you get that in?
I'm trying. I mean, I think it's Magnus's only hope.
Okay, Danny, I am so happy right now because Tad has just, our producer is just mentioning that in fact, bishop h5 and that idea with rook b6, rook e6, rook e8 was a killer. It was a killer.
Killer, Tanya.
I love it.
This is on the board. This is the position. So if king here, king takes, king here. This is exactly basically as we had before. Rook here. So e5, then g5, trying to break up these pawns. Then let me see, f5. Yeah, we have rook a5 or e6 and then g4. Ooh, it's not so great. So rook e4 instead. Maybe that's the way to do it. But this is touch and go because we have check here and
king d3.
Does
that change anything?
King d3, rook e5.
G4.
Now g4. Once you get in g4, that's a different story. So maybe this is
king f5. No, maybe can you? No, you can't take on f5. Can you?
Take on f5. Check e7. Maybe you can. Oh no! Wait a second.
No, you can't probably. King e5, e7.
Yeah, and now
rook e2. Okay, rook f5, even better. Very strong.
Wow. So this is, I mean, we have this on the board.
Danny, we might have just called out the whole game. You might have just called out the whole game. G5.
But Tanya, this is such an interesting position, I have to say, because, if black gets it right, if he can snap off one of these pawns and he makes a draw, this is really so, you've got to be so, both sides have to be so precise here. I mean, we're flashing these moves out. So easy to get it wrong. So let's just try and be precise. Has black got something here? So apart from rook e4, this has to be considered too. The other move to consider is g4. So that king b3 is played, and then we attack the pawns. This might be a better way to do it. It's gone. Okay, it's gone. Sorry, I'm just catching up with the board.
It's gone, and I'm looking at the eval bar. It seems like it's gone for Ding Liren as well. He just made a big mistake because after rook f2, I just saw the eval bar just bounce straight back and say the position is level now.
Okay, so let's look at this. So Carlsen has held the a pawn. So if the king, well, the king could come forward actually.
But then you go a2 and pick up the f4 pawn.
Right. Yes, that's good enough. Yeah, let me just show that. That's nice. So we take here, a2, take, and I'm assuming that because we take one, this one is not cut and dried, by the way. That is not cut and dried.
King g6.
King g6, and can we come in? Or do we push immediately? I'm going to... Ooh.
Yeah. And this is a big question.
It's on the edge. It's on the edge. I mean, one feels that with precise play, black should make a draw. But I'm not sure. Ding is thinking here. This is a big moment.
Crunch moment. He goes king c4. He goes for this idea, Danny, because the thing is that if you get your king to a2, it's super hard to improve from there.
Too passive. Way too passive. But yeah, I'm absolutely right. I think this is the only way to go. Carlsen has given a check on e4.
We're seeing this line. a2 will be played. He can go a2 next. King d5, a2.
Yes. So we're going to get this position on the board exactly.
Maybe, Danny, king d5, rook a4. Is that an option?
Oh, interesting. Rook a4. Oh,
This changes everything.
yes. And then maybe it transposes because we're just going to take here anyway.
All right, maybe Ding just changed his mind because he fell back with the king. He
Wait
just
a
changed his
second.
mind.
Okay, do you know what? In this position, maybe we don't need to take. We can give a check. Oh no, the king will come here. Can white actually make? Maybe white can't make progress here. If we just sit. Do you know what? That could be a draw. Because the rook can't join because of a2. Could just be a draw. Very interesting. And as you pointed out, well, he's played king a2, but this is way too passive. f5 takes f6. He's played it. How does white make progress? I don't see
I think
it.
Magnus has survived this one.
Incredible.
And I think, Danny, it comes down to that moment.
The bishop h5 moment. Your bishop h5.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring it up one more time.
Yeah. Nice. Why not? it looks like a draw. h5. Yeah, I don't see how Ding. Zugzwang. Ooh. Hello.
But why? What happens after? Oh, let's just point out king e7. You can go f6, rook king e6, and there is f7. So king can't move from there. Rook d3. So still holding it. Rook
Okay.
e4
What about
now?
rook e4?
Rook e4. Now you fall back with the rook. So you go rook to d8, Danny. Rook d8 is the move.
And should be a draw, right? King takes king f5. So yeah, Magnus has played rook d2. Just for a moment there, I panicked because, of course, the rook is in the best position behind the e-pawn, and suddenly he has to move it away. But it does look like this, as he's played, looks
And scary.
like
Because like you were mentioning, after rook e4, black needs to be careful because king e7 loses to f6. So rook e4, king e7 doesn't work. So maybe rook d8 is the only way to keep things together.
Yeah, but as you say, it is. I think it's sufficient because f5 is hanging. We've got some moves. It's gone like this, and they're repeating. Oh, he's played rook e2
and rook d8. Rook d8 immediately played by Magnus. Magnus, look at the clock situation. Dinglerin down to less than 50 seconds. Magnus has got 11 minutes on the clock, and this he holds. Yeah. And let's just show why, Danny. Even though white has got these f5, e6 pawns, they're not going anywhere. The problem in white's position is that the king on a2, he's basically playing without a piece. That king is tied down to the a3 pawn, and while he picks that up, he ends up losing the other pawns. After rook d8, e7, rook e8 would have just ended the game on the spot. You go king f5 and pick up that e7 pawn as well. This is just a repetition.
Looks like it, doesn't it? Yeah, I think we're heading for it.
Now rook e3.
Rook e3 repeats the position. Wow. So Magnus off the crossbar. This is extraordinary. Yeah, we're drifting towards a draw now. Rook d8.
And let's just show that, Danny, that if e7 here, rook to e8, and king takes a3, you pick up. Maybe you can pick up either of the pawns, really, but king f5 is also possible. King falls back, pick up the e7 pawn, and that's game over.
Yeah.
Something very similar happening right now. Actually, we do have this position on the board.
Yeah, it's exactly this. Draw. So with that draw, that means that Magnus Carlsen wins that first set because he won the first game. But that was tricky. Tanya, we need to go back to your moment. We need to go back to bishop h5 because that was the crunch moment where maybe if Ding had had more time, he would have been able to just...
And you remember, Danny, when he played bishop e2, this idea came to our minds. The moment he played bishop e2, that sometime, bishop will come to h5 and there'll be something on e8.
There we go. So protecting this pawn, the knight, I think crucially, the knight can't rejoin the defense. So actually, it's pretty clear.
So what happens after king e7? Do you go f5? Do you insist on this?
I think you do. I think you've cracked it again.
So f5, rook e6. You can't go rook d6 because you trade and you queen. Rook e6, rook e8. So b2 here. What is going on? Maybe b2 is possible.
Let's have a little look. Check.
King d7.
Now.
Rook e8.
Rook e8. Let's get a queen. Now, let's queen with check. That's not bad in itself.
Danny, let's pick up the knight with the check if we can.
I think this looks tremendous.
This does, right? King c7 is the only move. You can even pick up the g7 pawn with a check. This has to be winning.
Winning, no doubt. Winning. Very nice. I really like it. I think we are actually picking up the knight. If we play, well, for example, here, queen e5 check, let's central. Listen, even if you don't pick up the knight, of course, this is completely winning for white.
Yeah.
But I think it looks like we're picking it up, actually. So here, maybe the knight falls back. But listen, the A pawn is on. Everything is hanging.
Everything falls.
It's winning. No, bishop h5 is the move.
Bishop h5. That was the moment.
We love it. Bishop h5. Listen, tell Dean next time you see him. He'll be delighted to hear that.
He did save me from retirement.
He did, and yeah, just let him know that you saw it in an instant.
We do have Magnus in our studio, so let's head to Oslo.
We're decent, but the last one was kind of poor, but I somehow survived.
Has it been hard to get motivated to play this third place match after what happened yesterday against Levon?
No, it was okay. I thought we'll just play chess, and but then after I won the first game, then I thought let's try and at least consolidate that plus score today, so I have something to work with tomorrow. But yeah, the last game was really sloppy, but yeah.
And of course, throughout the tour, we really have been hoping to see a knockout battle or a match between yourself and world number 3 Ding Liren. What has it been like to finally face him now in one of these matches?
Yeah, it's a bit like the time I faced Wesley in the third place match. It's a bit anticlimactic, but no, it's fine. He's a very strong player and an interesting opponent. So in terms of training, it's good, and like there's obviously some bonus for winning as well, so that's nice. But no, everybody knows it's not where I want to be, but sometimes you gotta play the cards that you've been dealt, or at least you've dealt yourself.
And yeah, we noticed you were playing much quicker today compared to your games against Levon in the semi-finals. Is that just because the pressure's off now a bit, or was that a conscious decision?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of a few things. Also, Levon was playing quickly, which it's kind of rare that both players play quickly or slowly. Usually one player plays a lot faster. But yeah, obviously yesterday thinking didn't help me a lot. I was still making poor decisions, so it was refreshing to play a bit quicker, obviously.
And of course, we're in the same city as you, Magnus. We know the sun is shining outside, so are you eager to get outside and enjoy the nice weather now?
Well, I'm in quarantine. I've been in quarantine the whole week, so it's
really
limited what I can do.
Oh, is that boring?
Yeah, I have to say that it's not ideal. Like, especially when you finish quickly in the evening, and I mean the weather is nice, and all my friends are here in the city, and to just be inside and not meet anybody has been has been not ideal. The only thing I've done really is I've gone for quick swims in between games somehow, just trying to avoid people at all costs. But it's not easy these days.
Oh, that sounds nice. And I mean, the most important thing, you're healthy, right?
Yeah, I'm completely fine.
Okay, good.
So it's just one of these things that happen these days.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I hope you can go for a swim at least, Magnus, and good luck on the final day tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. All right. Well, I didn't know that. Magnus Carlsen in quarantine. Oh, that must be so boring.
That's so awful, especially in Norway when the weather is nice.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone runs outside, and you know what it's like living in Norway.
Yeah.
Sunny days are few and far between.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely it sucks a little bit. But okay, great comeback from yesterday's disaster from Magnus.
Yeah. Do you think that will have?
Tani, you gotta play the cards that you've been dealt, or that you've dealt yourself. Some interesting words there by the world champion. And he's in quarantine. I wonder if that has something to do with the upcoming World Cup, or what's going on there.
I'm guessing, because he said he's healthy. I'm guessing maybe that someone in his family or a friend has maybe tested positive for COVID, or someone he's had contact with, and therefore he's just taking precautions and quarantining himself, because he doesn't, he's obviously not displaying any symptoms, and he's fine. So I'm guessing it's to do with that. I think if he tested positive for COVID, I think we'd know about it.
We would know.
But yeah, I guess just because of that.
Absolutely. All right. Well, also the world champion has got the World Cup coming up. So some strong preparation for that will be seen soon. But right now the action continues here, Danny. We've got Levon Aronian. Let's do a quick recap of the action that we had today. Now, Levon Aronian, Vladislav Artemiev, the day in office started well for the Russian Grandmaster, for Artemiev, who's been so impressive throughout the event. Round one with the black pieces, no worry whatsoever. Ended in a draw, a quick draw really, coming out of the opening. That bishop d8, bishop c7, what an idea. Second game, Artemiev in the driver's seat, but messed up a very, very good position, a clear pawn up, and Levon managed to hold that one. In game three, it was a Levon Aronian show. A really good win by Levon there, and game four also looked very good for the Armenian Grandmaster, but a draw was enough, so he just went for it. And with that 2.5, 1.5, Artemiev has to win on demand this set to force a playoff. Otherwise, it is the Lev show here at the Goldmoney Asian Rapid. Meanwhile, a lot of action in the Ding Magnus match as well. Some inspired play there, especially in the first three games.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that last game was actually the most interesting of them, to be honest. Because the first game that Magnus won was basically, it was just a tactical blunder by Ding. But this last game was fascinating. That end game had this imbalance. And actually, I'd really like to know what's actually going on in the rook and pawn end game. I suspect it's probably a draw, but it's really subtle.
Very interesting. Well, that means we're headed for an exciting day of action tomorrow, the final day of the finals. Coming up, and of course there is a quiz on Twitter, so definitely check that out. You can win the Big Chess bundle. There's a 1-year premium membership, a 1-year Play Magnus membership that gets you access to Tactics Frenzy. It's a very cool app to improve your tactics, and all you have to do is go on Chess24's Twitter handle and answer this question: what is your favorite piece and why? So go do it right now and tell us, and some of you, a lucky winner, wins this big bundle. Now, this means for us, Tani, it's been an amazing day of chess, and I want to get your final thoughts before we wrap up. I've got chat in front of me, so chat, also tell us how you think about it. Tani, I'm seeing a lot of requests here. So what do you want to say to chat?
Well, just thinking about the chess, I thought in Artemiev's interview, he was very phlegmatic. You know, he did say, well, you know, you have good days, you have bad days. I simply had a bad day. And, you know, he does, of course, he's disappointed, but it didn't seem to have affected him. And I think it's a very philosophical attitude, very phlegmatic. And, you know, he can have a good day tomorrow. So I hope very much that he has a better day tomorrow. And we see the best of Artemiev, which we know is really scintillating stuff. So we hope for a better day.
I mean, he's done it once, right? He's done it against Ding Liren. He lost the first set and then came right back, winning the second set and then winning the playoffs. So he's 100% capable of doing that once again, but he needs to find that confidence. We'll see what happens now. We want Danny to rock. All right, Danny, what if we strike a deal right now? Okay, what if we strike a deal right now? Chat, here's my proposition. Tomorrow, if we have any playoff, all right, whether in the fight for third place or for the finals, Danny, you bring your guitar out.
Well, it could be the bass. I mean, I'm
the bass.
Listen, as we have time today, I don't want to spoil the grand finale tomorrow.
Let's do it.
If I'm going to play, then it should be now. So I think I need a bit of help from our producer.
Okay. All right, we're going in for this right now, chat. We're doing this now.
Okay, wait a sec. So do I just...
You know one thing for sure, that Danny really knows how to play fair. He lost a bet. He lost the day yesterday. Yeah. He's going for it. We didn't get the concert we were promised, and now we're going to have it.
So I just want a quick chat with the producer. Tad, can I just play now? Yeah. Okay, listen, folks. I hope that this is going to work. I'll give you a quick burst. I lost the bet. Fair play. Tanya, chat. Everyone.
I'm excited. Chat is going crazy for you, Danny, as well. Go get your stuff. Go get your bass on. Okay. Tanya needs Randy. I am not playing the drums. I can barely play chess. Let's just stick to that. Tanya, noise cancellation. I think they figured it out. Let's go, chat. Let's go.
Okay, let's try. Okay, first of all, I got it. Can you hear me? Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes. This is sounding good.
Let me turn it up a little
very
bit.
Good.
Volume.
Rockstar Danny, keep it coming, chat. I want to see all of that on chat. We gotta get the hearts in. We gotta get the Rockstar Danny in.
I'm sitting on my amplifier, so anyway, there's a huge bit of interference, but here we go. So. There we go.
What? No, more. Woo!
Enough.
Oh, that was amazing. Danny on fire. Absolutely. Well, Danny, thank you so much for that. That was the perfect ending that we could have gotten to this day one of the finals.
Short and sweet. Listen, you don't want to suffer anymore. You've all suffered enough.
Danny, Dave is asking, is there a record that you've got that he can listen to online?
No, absolutely not. No, listen, I don't record. I play with, well, of course, during the pandemic, I haven't been able to play any gigs at all. But, you know, before the pandemic, I was playing with a couple of bands and, you know, just doing fun gigs, you know, birthdays, weddings, you know, that kind of thing. Just a function band. It's good fun, you know, party band.
Danny, I really wish I'd known about this earlier, because I think the last time I met you was in BL in 2019 when the world was as we knew it back then. And then I would have insisted on a live performance, but this is the second best thing that I could have asked for, as well as chat. Thank you so much for that. And a big shout out to our audience as well, and our partners, Airthings, Opera, and of course, Goldmoney for making everything possible. Do consider going premium and supporting the tour. It's a sign off from us. We'll be back with the final day tomorrow.
So fresh, so new. Freedom. It's all for you. All for you. Freedom. Keep your ear to the ground. Talking about the freedom. It's the best show in town. Best show in town. Freedom.
Air quality isn't the first thing that comes to mind when you think about chess and esports, but it affects our focus, decision-making, health, sleep, and more. What's in the air you breathe? Find out with Air Things. Breathe better, live better.
Want to raise your chess to a new level? Challenge Yourself is an exclusive, innovative experience designed for Chess24 Premium members. Train like a champ with a unique set of lessons prepared by the coaches of the challengers. Boris Girlfriend and Co. will help you improve your chess. Play a champ. Play a grandmaster each day in Banter Blitz. Take advantage of this incredible opportunity from June 10th. Go premium and challenge yourself.
Take your chess to the next level with carefully selected collections featuring some of the best video series from Chess24. Buy the courses to own them forever, save up to 60%, or go premium and access all series while having all other privileges of premium membership. Learn more at chess24.com/deals.
Super discounts on merchandise. Massive sales on courses from Chessable. Chessable and Chess24 bundles, with new deals appearing every day. Visit chess24.com/deals.
Thing that comes to mind when you think about chess and esports, but it affects our focus, decision-making, health, sleep, and more. What's in the air you breathe? Find out with Air Things. Breathe better, live better.